everybody, and welcome back to Encounter Roleplay. My name is Will. I'm a D&D sex icon and the host of the most morally grey D&D show on Twitch. We're back today, of course. It's the world's tree burns, and we don't have the full cast and crew with us today. Actually, Laura Lani is not with us, but she'll be back next week. Fear not. Carrie, on the other hand, she may not be well. We'll have to find out what happens to her in the meantime. But let's go around the cast and crew, the rest of us, and figure out who we are and who we're going to be playing tonight. We have our illustrious Dungeon Master, Dan Dillon, with us tonight. Dan, how's it going, my friend?
Hey, it's going very well. Thanks for having me here once again. So I am Dan Dillon. I'm the Dungeon Master of this wonderful romp through Midgard, the World Tree Burns, and yeah, we're looking forward to having some nice, easy sort of downtime, reintegrating back into the city after some crazy, death-defying antics in the wilderness. So that'll be calm and fun, and there will be no danger at all. Everything will be fine.
Zero danger in the city of Zobek. You heard it here first from Dan.
I heard it's the safest city of all Midgard.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
I guess that's relative, right? Where you've got like a world where like
Have you seen the other cities?
I come from Nihheim, so
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
relatively
Relative for you.
Relatively
Albania is pretty quiet until like magical things like just come bursting out of the ground.
there isn't demons just hanging out because that's what they do. Or actually, it's
No.
devils.
Chill.
No, it's you know.
There's both.
Yeah, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. We have McLogan with us tonight. Logan, how's it going, my friend?
It's going great. I'm excited to see where it's going to be Glaz and Cloak on library adventures and seeing what shenanigans they get up to and getting a mask. I can't wait. I hope I get a mask. Let's see if it works. But yeah, I'm excited. And if you guys don't know, I'm playing Cloak. He's a Nihheim gnome. He's a ranger, and he has a dog named Puff Puff. He also has a mouse called Tonks, but it hides in his cloak, and he doesn't come out too often.
Great stuff. Well, you know, if you're looking to get an item of armor or clothing, you may have to kill a dragon, because that's what I had to do in order to get my plate armor back. So it's likely to be a whole thing, I'm sure. We, of course, have Tall Squall back with us tonight. Squall, how's it going, my friend?
I am doing great today. It has been a fun and exciting day out on the Twitters. And how in the world did this happen, Will? 2 freaking years.
That's crazy, man.
So yeah, but yeah, haven't I earned probation yet or something? Yeah, can I take the ankle collar off? You know, no, it's been. I mean, quite frankly, 2 of the best years of my life. So I'm happy to be here, and now I'm sitting here after. I guess this isn't our first post Gen Con, is it?
Yeah.
No, we played last.
Yeah.
Did we play last week?
No, we played last week.
We did play last
Yeah,
week.
we played last week.
We played last week, but we were in the middle of crazy portals and stuff. But anyway, you know, it's been a fun ride, amazing ride. Love being here on Encounter Roleplay, and ready to play some Glass of Shin. We are going to go and talk about some spells and talk about some books that we are trying to translate. I get to hang out at the Hedgehog and annoy all my fellow wizard friends. It's going to be a wonderful evening. I am very excited.
Great stuff. And we have Josh with us tonight, who has been frozen in time. He's going to be rejoining us. No, he's actually here right now. Holy shit, it moved.
What the fuck was that, dude?
Hello.
Hey!
Tech issue solved. Back in the nick of time. Josh, how's it going, my friend?
Fucking, I mean, it's prophesized. I feel like I'm living, you know, a prophecy right now. I'm just here, perfect, everything's fine. So yeah, everything is good. I'm back. I am playing Kane. He's a Tempia Ranger. I'm still loading everything and still getting to grips with what's going on. But yeah, everything is fine. Were we kidnapped? No, that was resolved. No, we made it back. Nothing is gone.
Wait, who got kidnapped? What?
My goodness.
Like another charge. We, as mentioned, Tio will be back with us next week. As for myself, I will be playing Riodan, the Dampier cleric, who's here today in order to wear his new plate armor, which he's spent 3 or 4 episodes trying to get. So finally, now that it's in his possession, he intends to flaunt it because he's got it, which is very much his philosophy in life as a whole. But before we start today's game, of course, I remind you guys we're sponsored today by Kobold Press. There's a link in the chat here, and of course in the YouTube description if you're watching on YouTube. Or take you to koboldpress.com, where you can check out all of your own Midgard D&D books, materials, check out the World Book, the Hero's Handbook, and keep an eye on the YouTube channel as well, because I've got some great interviews coming up. Our own Dan Dillon here, along with many others from Kobold Press, on the YouTube channel about Midgard. So if you're keen to learn more, then that'll be a great resource coming out first week of September. So keep an eye out for that. And of course, we're sponsored today by FancyGrounds.com, our virtual tabletop of choice. Go to Fancy Grounds and check out the fantastic virtual tabletop over there. Demo license is free, and their other licenses start at $4. You can play a variety, hundreds of different tabletop role-playing games with Fancy Grounds. Then, of course, last but not least, whalingames.co.uk. It's a go-to destination for role-playing game, board game, and wargaming products. You can check them out over there. If you want to check out the new D&D books, they're up to 20% off the retail value being sold over there. And pre-orders for Dragon Heist and Undermountain are underway over there as well. You guys, of course, can interact with today's show here on Encounter Roleplay Live. If you haven't followed yet, hit the follow button and to join us. When we hit 40 followers today, you guys get to decide something next which happens in our game. And, of course, here is a tweet for you guys. Help out the channel, and in doing so as well, retweet their tweets. When we get 20 viewer decisions, we'll have another 20 retweets, we'll have another viewer decision. Then last but not least, donate to affect the game as well by giving players nat 1s, nat 20s, wilds, magic surges, and so much worse. Check out all the donation stuff down below. But I will hand over to Dan Dillon to remind ourselves of what happened last week on the show.
All right, last week was the aftermath of a harrowing dragon fight in which our heroes slew a flame dragon, or at least seemed to have slain it, and drove it back through a portal into the elemental plane of fire, which they managed to subsequently close. Last week they found themselves in the midst of the Margrave Forest, a dense, deep, ancient, primordial forest with many dark stories surrounding its shaded groves. And they found themselves at Arrow Point, held by a group of Alcide, which are, think centaurs, but instead of human and horse, you have elf and deer. They realized that a shadow fae from the Shadow Realm, a plane of darkness and despair that exists just on the other side of the veil from Midgard itself, had entered into the Margrave Forest in the Alcide's territory, and had caused some sort of terrible ruckus and had run afoul of them, and they had ended up slaying this Shadow Fae noble, and they slowly came to trust you guys as they realized that despite your Shadow Fae companion Kari, you were not cohorts of this intruder, and to solidify that trust, they asked if you would sort of backtrack and clean up a mess that this strange, now dead newcomer left, which rather than face down the half dozen or so figures that were holding you at bow point, you decided to go ahead and do. You followed one of them, a more belligerent member of the group, who the leader sort of brought to heel by forcing her to guide you back to the place where the trouble had started. You went back to that grove, and you found that there was some sort of strange, a magical artifact of some type was sort of pouring liquid darkness and shadow out into the center of this grove. Cloak, having recently joined the ranks of...
Offering.
That's a wild
thank you.
search to everyone from Dave.
Wonderful. So everybody get those going, and we'll deal with that once
Thanks,
we
Dave.
reconvene. Nice. Cloak realized that there was some sort of inactive portal nearby, most likely the exit or entrance to a shadow road, which is probably where this Shadow Fae appeared in the Margrave Forest and started causing his disturbance. So as you moved in to investigate this strange phenomenon, Glaz was carrying an iron torch, basically, that holds a little mote of pure elemental fire, this blue burning torch that burns without fuel and perpetually. The light of that torch compressed and burned away this darkness that gave you guys a little clear bubble to stand in without being touched by whatever it was. Kari, without any sort of fear, scooped up this strange little object, which turned out to be a black pearl that was doing something magical. You're not really sure what, just sort of pouring this shadow, almost like the mist that comes off of dry ice when you drop it in water, just spewing it all over the place. But you guys didn't get near it thanks to that little heart of flame that you were carrying around. There was some shenanigans with a strange light bobbing off in the darkness that started flashing messages back and forth with Cloak, I believe it was, and that was a prelude, as it seemed to be trying to warn you. It segued into an attack by an enraged owlbear that seemed touched by the shadow influence that had seeped into this grove. It was completely berserk, and presumably those shadows would have been doing nasty things to you if you didn't have that flame burning them away before they got to you. So it's excellent that everybody crowded in around that light. So after a pretty nasty battle with that and the bobbing flame, the lantern light out in the woods turned out to be a will-o-wisp, an undead soul that floats through wilderness places, luring travelers to their doom and then feeding off of the anguish of their deaths. So after dispatching those two threats, you are able to return to the Alseed and essentially solidify your friendship with them, at least for the moment, and they guaranteed you safe passage through their territory, at least from their people. The Margrave is a dangerous place, and they can't control every aspect of it. But you gathered a few interesting belongings that were left behind on the Shadowface corpse. The Alseed had no interest in them, and were just as happy to have you take them away, as well as claiming his mount, which was an emaciated, undead-looking, almost like an undead unicorn, is what the thing looked like. However, Kari recognized it as a creature known as a Shadhavar, which is very much alive, much more intelligent than a regular horse, and of a darkly magical nature. And she has claimed it at this point as her mount. You interred the Shadow Elf's body in sort of out of the way, and made your way back to Zobek. And I believe that is where we left off. So we're picking up as you return to the Free City. Kari has just realized that her horse has the ability to disguise its appearance with an illusion, as it was starting to get some strange looks from the travelers on the North Road, and took the initiative on its own to change its appearance to seem that of an ordinary black stallion. So it will draw no more attention or strange looks for its terrible, horrid appearance. And there are a number of bits of business that you guys had left sort of hanging that I think several of you want to get to. I'll remind you that Paula Everforge, the dwarven smith who you rescued, has taken Riodan's plate armor to make good on her promise to finish fitting it to him so he can wear it without incident, and she is doing that free of any further charge since you saved her life. And is going to look into forging one of the flame dragon scales, as well as some bear teeth that you guys recovered, into a mask for our Nimheim gnome friend Cloak.
Amazing. So we had a couple of wild magic surges from our very own Dave. So my one was that I wake tomorrow believing that I've slept for 2d10 years.
Oh boy.
Look, I am a Dampier, Riodan may well believe that he can fall asleep for like multiple years. Glaz's feet explode if he ventures more than 1 mile from here.
Oh,
it looks like it's staying in Zobek for a little while, buddy.
All right.
And have much fun here in Zobek, reading for a very long time until I will no longer explode. Or until, maybe explode is figurative, some type of...
Yeah, well,
maybe the ley lines in my feet or something?
Cloak is my favorite one. And Kane, I think we need a roll from you, by the way. But Cloak becomes lost if he enters a forest by himself.
Ooh.
He's in a ranger,
which makes no goddamn sense. It's my favorite terrain.
Well, I will just throw out there that if you wandered into the Margrave, it would make perfect sense that you got lost, favorite terrain or not. But we won't worry about that now.
Oh, I'm gonna go to Marcus.
See that? Amazing. Yeah, well, definitely what Riordan is doing, well, if we're doing some little bit of downtime here, maybe,
Sure.
is that Riordan is, yeah, getting fitted, basically. Like, he sends along his measurements, because, of course, he's taken them himself many a time. But he'll also go to meet with Paula to get them fitted, and he will critique her work as she does it in the most annoying of fashions. He truly is one of those people that will tell you how to do your job when clearly he has no idea about how to do it. One of the worst people on the planet. And yeah, he's.
But does he snap at waiters?
He's not a waiter snapper, I have to say. Riordan.
Just making sure he's not a waiter snapper.
He compels them with his mind and his eyes, his vampiric sense to come towards him. But yeah, he's like, really, you ought to do the engraving slightly different. I think I don't really like the look of that at all. That symbol over there, let's change that. And it gives her all of these clearly impossible things to do. But he does thank her.
So as you start getting into the nitty-gritty of the aesthetics of the armor, talking about the engraving and various devices that might be on it, it's fairly plain to begin with, but she just sort of rolls with it, right? And she says, "Yes, okay. Of course, that's something we can certainly look into doing." And she just like it's like she's dealt with fussy aristocratic clients any number of times before, and you're just kind of one more of those. And so she kind of speaks that language and is a little obsequious about it, and just sort of agrees with whatever kind of request you have, all the while just doing whatever it is she needs to do to get this job done. And so over the course of the evening, she gets all of the direct fitting completed with no problem. And then, hang on, something just happened.
I'm just bringing you guys on club program.
Oh, okay, I see what you do there. Sorry, that was very confusing. And she says that she'll have a little bit more work to do that really you can't be there for, because she needs to take the armor off and manipulate it, and it will be ready for you to pick up the following morning. So as soon as her shop opens, which is, remember that her forge is in the gear district of Zobek,
right?
And she will be there and ready for you in the morning, first thing.
Amazing. Incredible. Thank you, darling. I'll be back at the fuck house. If you want to take a break and relax, then you know where to find me.
Apparently at the Silk Scabbard, yes.
Yes, it is a house of pure fuck in so many senses.
Purely fuck. I have something for you, Dan. You're going to love this.
I love it.
Zobek, there are quite a lot of crossings in Zobek, right?
Crossings meaning
across rivers and stuff like that.
There are quite a few. Yes, and
fantastic. Next bridge that Caster crosses turns to chocolate.
Interesting. Huh.
Chocolate district.
Dan,
you motherfucker.
What kind of weather is currently in Zobek? Is it a hot day?
It's already hot.
It's not particularly hot. It's sort of mid to late spring. So right now it's somewhat rainy, however. There's a good overcast going that has cast a shade over the countryside. And you can tell it has rained recently, and you expect it might again before too long. So we'll see how well chocolate stands up to the rain.
And children. And kobolds.
Yes.
Oh god, can you imagine like a horde of kobolds just like... Yeah. Oh.
Don't worry about that. All right, so let's see. We'll say this this wild magic surge happened after you guys are essentially already back in the city. So Kari is going to take the sealed letter that you found in the Shadowfae's possession, which is addressed to something called Winter's Kiss, and several of you have realized that that is an embassy from the court of the Shadowfae to Zobek itself. None of you know where to find it, even those of you who've spent a great deal of time in Zobek, particularly Kane, because you know that...
Wild Magic
God,
Surge
more.
role player.
There we go.
Because fuck you, that's why from Laurelania.
Doesn't that mean she gets them too? Isn't that's how that works? Oh, hey,
that's a gray area. We don't.
Just in case it wasn't included in her donation, I believe with my subscription for 2 years, I do get a Wild Magic Surge that I would like to give to our friend, Laurelania.
Do you want me to roll that down? I don't know why I rolled
she's
4 of them, to be honest.
So I have a question. If she's not playing right now, can we donate to give them to her and they happen to her in real life?
I mean, personally, I don't see how that's any different from an NPC getting Wild Magic Surges, right? So, I'd say yeah.
So, Dan, did you roll us our Wild Magic Surges, or did you just accidentally roll 4?
I haven't rolled anything, no.
Oh, that's
okay.
Will.
I rolled 4, but that was just me being awake for 24 hours. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we should roll her up.
Yeah, just being a row, and I'm like, I heard 4. I'm gonna.
So
do
as
4.
we're sorting those out, you know that Winter's Kiss, its location is hidden, and if the stories are to be believed, its location is not stable. It changes. It moves about the city into different locations. It's incredibly difficult to pin down. So Kari is going to take that letter that is addressed to the ambassador himself, and is going to go off and attempt to locate where Winter's Kiss can be found now, so she can deliver that, because it's probably important.
Okay. As she does that, her Wild Magic Surge is that her weapon is sheathed in a soft wool tube. Soft wool tube. Interesting.
All right.
Mine is that my ears resemble butterfly wings. I agree. I think they
Interesting.
I don't fucking believe this shit. Kane, so of course. Target's voice sounds like someone of the opposite sex.
Oh, he's had so many fucking
your voice.
I can't handle this shit. I can't handle this shit.
Cloaks is someone nearby tries to swallow his arm elbow first.
Okay.
Reasonable.
I'm getting a lot of fucking weird ones.
And Glaz, which actually works just fine for Glaz. Target reacts violently to anyone with blood-stained clothes. Sure, Glaz, I can work that into Glaz.
Okay.
He's been around a lot of violence lately.
Yeah. Apparently it's taken its toll on him.
All right. Oh, goodness. So which one was that soft wool tube? Was that for...
That was for Carrie. Yeah.
That was for Carrie. All right.
Tube.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Soft wool.
All right. So her bow is packed in wool. Very strange, people. Very, very strange. All right. So as you all are getting settled, where is everyone setting up to stay while you're in Zobek? I know a few of you at least grabbed temporary rooms at the Silk Scabbard, which maybe some people speed, but not others. I know that Glaz was looking for a place in or around the Hedgehog.
Yes, I would very much like to stay near the Hedgehog so I can be close to all the magic and fun and zinga things.
All right. So the Hedgehog is located in the Collegium district, and since it's so close to the Arcane Collegium, you have many rooms you can find there, so you can very easily find a place to stay there as well.
The coolest sounding
quality. Sorry, what?
Coolest sounding inn, because Clerk is with us.
The coolest sounding inn. Oh, let's see. In the Collegium district itself, you have mostly the Hedgehog, which is just a tavern, though. It doesn't actually have rooms.
Just fancy.
Yeah. It looks like in that district, you're looking at mostly rooms for rent, rather than an actual...
Airbnb.
We are going to have an Airbnb that we will go to.
What's that?
You know, it's where the air elementals stay.
Yeah, it's...
Why are they on this room?
Because it is the Arcane Collegium. They have to stay somewhere.
Somebody clearly conjured the elementals. All right, so Glaz and Cloak, are you guys looking at a place together or just nearby?
Well, I think we're roommates. We'll be the odd couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Pretty sure Riodan is staying at the Silk Scabbard for certain. Where is Kane going to find regular lodging?
Oh God, what is right? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to collect. So at the moment, Kane, I can speak, but I have to concentrate. But I now sound like a woman. But I can speak through my owl, which sounds different. And no one has. We haven't gone into why that is a thing. It just is a thing. And also, I can randomly read different languages. Yeah, sometimes I do. If I look away for 5 seconds, Dan's just like, no, fuck you. So, right, okay. In which case, I'm going to go and find the crappiest, shittiest hovel I can. Somewhere cheap, somewhere I can be left alone. I just want away from everyone for a little while now.
All right.
I'm starting to suspect my party members are doing something to me.
All right, so Kane probably has a place somewhere down in, say, Lower Zobek, near to the Kobold Ghetto, which probably not in the Kobold Ghetto itself. You're a bit too tall to get along there without issues. Although you do have kind of a history with the Kobolds where they at least recognize you and they don't harass you directly. You've done some services for various members of the Kobold Ghetto, including one of the King of Kings at one point, you know, decades ago at this point, so long gone. But that reputation has stuck with you. So the small scaly folk, they've seen Kane around, they know him, they know not to screw with him, at least not so much as the other two talls that wander Zobek. And he can kind of get by there. And as I recall, he has some interest in the Kobold, their sort of industry, which is particularly tinkering, gear grinding, and alchemy quite a bit. I believe Kane has an interest in that, does he not?
He does. So Kane actually, back in the day, bounty hunting is all well and good, but there's not always a bounty to be had. However, the kobolds are very industrious creatures, and they get around a lot, and they do a lot of mechanical labor and hard work and that sort of thing. So I believe one of my previous jobs was actually escorting kobold caravans on their way to mine in some pretty desperately crappy places. And I provided sort of close protection so they could excavate, bring stuff back, and I'm very interested. Oh, it's my 20-month anniversary.
Oh, how nice.
There you are, babe. And yeah, I know. I think it's kind of, he's always been fascinated by Gearforge and stuff like that. However, yeah, there was that one incident that I got. There was something happening, and it's been a while since I've really been back. So I'm curious to see what's going on in that kind of district at the moment. It's just interesting. It's so much foreign sort of stuff. I also imagine, like, I spent quite a bit of time under the mountain, and just I'm basing this off like technology nowadays, how far we've come in like 20 years. I'm imagining going back and like the Gearforged being like the difference between a Nokia and an iPhone, and like they just do shit that I'm just like, that's amazing. So Kane's got a lot of fascination with progress of time and what the Kobold are doing themselves nowadays. Yeah,
certainly. So you can sort of make some connections with a few of the kobolds that you have kept in contact with in more recent years, since they, they don't live much longer than humans. So a lot of the ones that you've made over the years have died off by just happenstance, misfortune, or the inexorable grind of time that seems to ignore you for the most part. But you've kept in contact with a few. In particular, there's a kobold coachman who plies his services basically all over Zobek, and there's a particular black coach, and that he will take anyone pretty much anywhere, and he always has a pulse on the goings on in the city. So he's often a source of discrete information. So let's see.
I was muted.
Oh, you're right. Okay, go ahead.
So, yeah, I was going to say, is there any chance I would be able to go and pay him a visit and see if he's still kicking around?
You could probably track him down. You know his name is Black Eye.
Black Eye. Okay, I like that. In which case, well, we'll go around and see what the others are doing. But that's my intent, is to go track this guy down and get my finger back on the pulse, because I'm very, very excited about this. We hit level 3, and that means that I've actually taken my subclass from being a ranger from Kobold Press's fantastic material, and mine is all to do with urban encounters and Zobek. So I'm gonna go read up on that.
Yep, very good. All right, so you can spend some time asking around about and looking for Black Eye, and it isn't difficult to track him down. He's always out and about, pretty much every day, all day, and out for hire. And you put the word out that you're looking for him, and before too long, he will basically come and find you at one of your regular haunts, be that the Soak Scabbard or one of the other places that you frequent. The Wheat Chief Tavern is a pretty rough and tumble bar that you've spent some time in. That you have a reputation as a man to be left alone there, because it's often rife with sort of city scum, and if they get a price on their heads, they don't want anything to do with you. So. So he catches up with you at or near the Wheat Chief, and you see his black carriage sort of clopping down the street, pulled by its horse, and you can see that he is up on the driver's board, and he has kind of a wide-brimmed leather hat that he has pulled low to shade his eyes from the glare of the sun. As a kobold, he finds it somewhat distasteful, but he braves it for the good of his business. And he pulls the carriage up to a halt nearby, and hops down and sort of tips his hat at you, and you can see a little gleam of his eyes in the shadows under there, and the tip of his snout is sort of peeking out from under the shade. And he holds his arms out, little clawed fingers, and he says,
"Hey, been a long time. Heard you were looking for me."
Kane nods, and he will lower himself to the kobold's level. In a rare sort of, he drops down to a knee, and I imagine there's like a cost, like an arranged cost for buying like the local gossip. That I imagine, like, I probably kept his palm greased, and he'd keep me appraised, like, someone's behind on tax or something like that, someone's skipped bail, someone's pissed a local gang lord off, that sort of thing. And I think it would just be a silent exchange of him placing a coin in the little kobold's claws.
Sure. So yeah, you can pass some gold along to him, which he kind of takes, and he sort of flexes his fingers around it, and the coin just sort of vanishes as he does so. You've seen him do this any number of times. You're pretty sure it's just sleight of hand, but it's something that he's done for years, and so he's gotten good at it. And so he says,
he's a showman.
Yeah, a little bit. He says,
"Well, things have been interesting around lately. What are you looking for? Same old, same old?"
I guess. Remind me the names of those mercenaries that were down in the sewers. They were called something.
Right, the ones who had the tattoos. The Black Shield.
Black Hand? Oh, yeah.
Black Shield.
The Black Shield. Yeah, so...
And so I imagine Whisper is sort of on your shoulder or hops to kind of the buckboard of the carriage nearby and just sort of watches the two of you.
Yeah, and Kane will lean in as sort of Whisper cranes its neck round, searching, keeping an eye out, and Kane just whispers,
"The Black Shield."
Ah. The tip of his little reptilian tongue kind of darts out along his needle-like teeth, and he nods his head and goes, Black Shields. Yeah, they've been getting around recently. I heard some of that crew got hired for some nasty work down in the cartways. Not something you would have had anything to do with, right? He says...
Yeah, he just gives him like a sly nod. Just like,
sure,
we understand,
sure.
Yeah.
Black Shields are run by a man named Vandesian Thrick. That's Thrick with 2 Ks. You can find him here and there. In fact, he sometimes likes to spend his coin on the fights and the girls at the Silk Scabbard. But I hear tell he's going to be down in the cartways at the black market, looking for something special. In a few nights, you can for sure catch him there.
So when he mentions the black market, you can hear the capital letter, the capital letters in the words. He's not meaning just the general sort of commerce for illegal goods. He means the Cartways black market, which is a very specific place. And it's actually one that Kane probably knows how to get to already, so he won't need to, say, hire Black Eye to find the right entrance to it, which you know is a service that he provides. If you're looking for something in the Cartways, he can probably find you a way in, out, and maybe even something specific within it.
Okay. In which case, yeah, I'm gonna like nod appreciatively, and yeah, we'll. I'll keep sort of an eye. Do you say yeah, Vandesian Thrick?
Vandesian Thrick.
Okay. I'll sort of nod to him, and I'm gonna go find a dive somewhere that you know has somewhere that can like cater to my need of no one talking to me right now. Away from
well, the wheat
Reardon.
sheaf is probably a great place to do that. The Silk Scabbard is a little bit lively and maybe doesn't fit the somewhat sounds a bit somber.
Here's my problem. Basically, I want to go to the fuck house, but I don't want to go anywhere near Reardon for like a good 24 hours. Like I just need some time from Reardon.
I hear you.
So either like get rid of him for me, or find me someone similar but grottier.
Simple. The wheat sheaf will fit your bill on pretty much all fronts. It's a nasty dive. It's full of just really unsavory characters. You're pretty sure a lot of illegal business gets done through there, and they will leave you the hell alone because nobody wants on your radar unless they're sure they can handle you.
I'm gonna fight, drink, and misbehave.
Riodan would not be caught dead there.
Yeah. So I'm gonna fight, drink, and misbehave. That's what I'm.
Right.
That's what I am to do.
You know, Riodan, it's the sort of place where you order wine and get vinegar, and they give you a blank stare when you try to point out the difference to them. So it's not the sort of place you'd be interested in.
For hobos, and I don't mean that.
It really is. Yeah. All right, so you can head to the wheat sheaf and drink your cares away and take your frustrations out on people who get too uppity for the next couple of days. So Riodan, you can acquire your armor from Madame Everforge. So make sure that you have that all set because you're good to go now. You have your plate armor. It's not giving you any sort of proficiency issues. It's not interfering with your spellcasting. It's all set. And currently it's essentially unadorned. It has a little bit of embellishment maybe around the sides and kind of on some of the larger plates, but it's really kind of a blank canvas if you want to do anything with it.
Cool. I'll think on that. I think for now I'm going to keep it simple.
Sure. If you want to throw like a surcoat or a tabard or anything like that over it. Hey, buddy.
Right.
Good night, pal.
Less is more, darling. Less is more.
Yes.
Agreed.
All right. So as I recall also, there was some interest in searching out information at the library.
Yes. Well, first, yes, we have got to find the room, and then we need to go to the hedgehog, and then we need to go to the library, and then we've got this book that we're trying. Oh, actually, we need to go back to our good friend. I do not believe he had finished yet, or had he finished? He was our guy, our translator friend. Omar's Ware books.
No, he remember you guys paid him for a rush job, so he got that done really quickly. And you have the transcription of the book.
But we have a not a translation, a transcription.
Right, just a transcription. Yes. And it's only the specific coded parts that you were interested in. All the rest of it, you figured you could get back or didn't need. So you have just the ciphered parts of it. And you can also work on breaking that code, yes. So
first, shall we try to find the room? There is lots of
you guys easily track down a woman who is renting out a very small, basically almost like a little 1 or 2 room, like a 2-room shack, kind of at the back of her property. And it's clean, it's in decent repair, it's not very glamorous, but it suits your needs. And you guys can rent that from her, no problem.
How much does the renting cost?
So that's covered by lifestyle. If you want to pay up to cover your lifestyles, that is done. The cost is by the day, and you can just pay it in a lump to, like, if you want to pay up for a month or whatever, you can do that. So lifestyle expenses, we're going to call these modest, which will run you 1 gold a day, and that is not just rent. That's rent, food, stuff to keep your weapons and armor up, all that stuff.
I think we should get it for a month, yes? Or just a week at a time? What do you think? How far are we going to venture afield, do you think? It might be nice to have a place to keep things.
I mean, yeah, we can keep it for a month, but we don't know how long we're going to be we don't know where life's going to take us, so what if we're then all of a sudden I want to go to the fuck house in Namibia, and then you're like, okay, magical fuck house, and then we're on an adventure trying to get to a magical fuck house.
Yes, but eventually we will come back and we will have a place to hang our hat, which is always nice. We'll come home and it's a place that we can say that this is where I'm living. It'll be our first place together.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. So yeah, I mean, so it's 15 from me, 15 from you, and then
yes.
I also have gems.
I think lifestyle though would be 30 for each of us, right? That's the way that works.
If you guys are gonna share the space, I'll let you split the cost. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. I have 5 gems, 2 diamonds, and a sapphire, and 3 gems worth 50 gold, if I jotted this down correctly. One of them I think I gave to
Glaz has the 50 gold diamond so he can cast his spell.
Okay, we had 2 of those. I took the other one because I was like, anyone else want it? And everyone just kind of didn't say anything, so Cloak just kind of slowly put it in his cloak. And then and I believe was so it was 2 diamonds and then 3.
There's a carnelian in there because Glaz was going to buy the carnelian off whoever took it because he wanted the carnelian because it matches. It matches my skin.
I would just give you carnelian then. So that's the thing. So I'm deciphering the crazy notes because we were all going through a dungeon. So
sure.
I have 1 diamond. You have 1 diamond. You want the carnelian? You can have the carnelian. There was a sapphire, and then there was another gem in there, and I didn't write down what it was. I just wrote down it was worth 50 gold.
I think I said it was a blue spinel.
It is a blue spinel. I just looked at mine. Yep, it's a blue spinel.
Wait.
I'm shocked that I remembered.
Yeah. How about we rent it for 50 days and we give her this?
Perfect.
Yes, that sounds good to me.
All right. And then Cloak would walk up to the lady and be like, "Look, this is worth 50 gold. So can we have this lovely abode for 50 days?"
So she is an older halfling woman, and her eyes kind of widen a little bit when you bring that out, and she takes it and examines it, and she says, well, yes, no, I think that should do very, very well. Well, enjoy your new home.
Thanks.
Yay.
She kind of tucks it away into a pouch and gives you a bright smile. So she'll kind of show you to the back, give you a key, and show you what's in there. There's really not a whole lot in there. It's very, very barely furnished. So you have a couple of beds,
Quick question.
Like a chair and a table, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Does Puff Puff like her?
Puff Puff sort of goes up and gives her a sniff, and she just gushes over Puff when this sort of shimmering golden-haired hound comes up. She gets down on her knee and starts talking in baby voice. Oh my goodness, hello! And ruffling up her fur, and Puff Puff is just beside herself. Yeah. Okay. So,
that's one indication if we would stay there. If Puff Puff didn't like her, we wouldn't stay there.
Sure. She passes the sniff test.
Okay.
So she shows you to your home, leaves you to get settled in, and do as you will. And she makes her way off to head to work. It appears she is a maid at the Collegium.
Oh, that's convenient. Did we catch her? Sorry to do the name.
What's her name?
Sorry to do the name thing on you. Does she have a name?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, no, totally do the name thing. I am prepared for just such an occasion.
And what is your name, dear? It is so nice that you are our landlord.
Oh, no, it's not Stephen, because then it becomes Stefan.
Landlady.
I can't even.
Shirley.
My name is Stephanie, and you're staying at my lovely abode, so deal with it. Thank you for the gem. Okay. I want another one tomorrow.
Her name is Dee, just D-E-E.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Kettle Whistle.
Oh, what a lovely name, this Kettle Whistle.
Yep. And so she's your landlady. Oh, you're very, very welcome. It's lovely to meet you, Cloak. Lovely to meet you, Glazishin.
I am Glazishin. I am from Bimia. I'm studying at the Collegium. I'm trying to become a geomancer.
So very far away. My goodness, you must have gone through Dornig, I would imagine. You couldn't come through the wastes.
Well, it was a very long story. Perhaps we will have tea sometime. I will make you some. And do you play games by any chance? I am a big fan of playing games. Maybe one night or one morning or sometime on your day off, I can bring out all of my different games and we can throw some dice or we can play some chess or I have some cards. And he just goes on and on.
Sure. All right. Well, she just sort of lets you go on for a little while, nodding and smiling, and then she says, "Yes, I think that sounds lovely. Once you boys get settled, I would be very happy to share some tea and games with you, and I'll even bring you dinner as a housewarming."
Oh, aren't you just the sweetest thing?
Thank you so much. So she bids you goodbye and goes off to get ready for work and to let you guys get settled and get on with your day.
Okay. So. Oh, we're going to say
arm wave. Well, I was just going to say, can we arm wave the getting mending done on the robes and get that getting that sold?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you go to the Hedgehog and you whip out that robe with the giant bear claw rend in the front of it, and just start rattling off the story, and you have a couple of people hooked immediately based on just the embroidery and just the craftsmanship of it, which isn't from Zobek. And in fact, one of the individuals will look at it and he'll kind of check over the fabric and the craftsmanship, and he'll say, "Well, if I'm not mistaken, this is from one of the 7 cities. This looks to be from Kamei Interesting."
What the fuck?
Wait, would I know? I would know. 7 cities. Glaz might know. Yes, he's probably heard of some of the
probably.
7 cities.
I mean, it's not a secret. You've heard of them, certainly. Yeah.
I apologize. That what the fuck was the spider that Josh apparently just caught?
This just fucking attacked me.
Oh my lord!
The fucking Tia set that one off, dude.
Can't stand your friendship on it.
Welcome to Encounter Roleplay, where people buy stuff to attack you.
Monster donate. How fucking metal as fuck would that be? Like if I released actual fucking like insects at people, like £10 donation, I send a fucking swarm of wasps over to Loke's house.
I'm just saying, about a 10-hour flight later, I'd be knocking on your door.
Yeah. Summon the bugs now! Do it!
Good lord. All right, so this individual not only can mend the tears in the robe for you, but he also identifies where it came from.
And because I'll never get that spelling right, if at some point you can just throw that in somewhere, because 7 cities have long names. Yeah, there we go.
I dropped it in the call.
Yep,
chat.
I see. The Keme Strumboli. Well, that is
Keme Straboli.
Now, isn't that the most interesting thing? But unless you are going to collect from this, I'm thinking, don't you think, Cloak, we should sell it, and then we have a little bit more coin when we go over to the library and perhaps purchase some books or some spells. I'm thinking the gold is worth more than pretty robes, unless you would like them. They do not fit me or fit my.
I have this wonderful cloak that will always last forever. So you can sell that. I don't care what you sell. That's either you can have it or you can sell it. It's all up to you, man.
No, I'm thinking we sell it. And if this gentleman is interested in buying it, we certainly will sell it to him, or I'm sure we can find someplace. We'll add to our list of to-do items to swing by a tailor or secondhand cloak dealer or robe dealer.
Yeah, you can find someone to buy it, no problem. It's incredibly high quality. You can use prestidigitation to remove the blood stains, and yeah, they will have no trouble reselling that. It is, I mean, it's a 250 gold piece robe. It's very, very
and
nice.
Zobek has people who would pay that for robes easily. So.
Oh yes, there are powerful, influential families for whom wealth and ostentation are very important statements. So absolutely.
So. I still have this elemental fires that we need to go see about, perhaps seeing at the Collegium. I know you have a library pass.
That's a good question. What are you doing with the Heart of Flame? Are you just carrying it around? Are you?
Unless Cloak stops him, Glaz is just carrying it around. Cloak might have something to say about that.
No, Cloak would have him carry it around because of what it is and what it's inside of it. He's convinced is inside of it, and what's potential it could be. So we I don't know how many, if Cloak has his mask yet.
Not yet. You guys did need to take the flame to Paula Everforge if you wanted to have her use that to forge the dragon scale.
I guess that's our first stop then. We need to drop off the flame and then we can go to the library.
And in fact, if you guys want, that can be about the same time Riodan is going to pick up his armor. The next day.
Okay. So. One thing I want to do while we're getting the house set up, because Cloak was waiting because he wanted to talk to Glaz. He kind of like pulls him aside and like wait for D Kettle Whistle to leave. I almost call her Kettle Pot again. And he said, "Do you know when we were in that dungeon, like, and I saw into the fire void, which was the now we know as the elemental plane of fire. So
yes, in the city of grass.
Something woke up inside of me, right? And now I can see like the weaves of the realms and like where they like lay, and I can use that to like pinpoint people's weaknesses. And like when we were talking to Owlbear, I was like cutting through the shadow and hitting the bear. If that makes sense?
No, that makes very much sense. It's sometimes when I am in tune with the song of the ley lines, I'm able to do things that are very similar to exploit people's weaknesses or make spells last longer or go further.
But I'm able to sense portals now. So when we went to that shadow area, I was able to sense and I don't know if it's the same as your ley lines, but it was something like, and I'm always, and then he pulls out the vial and he's like, but I still have this. And it is like probably frosted over and he has it like in a cloth. And he's like, and he like tinks it around a little bit and he's like, that's the shadow pearl.
Oh, the darkness.
Yep. Yeah. So you pull out that little glass vial, and it is indeed iced over. It's like, you know, when you wake up in the morning and go to your car, and there's just that feather pattern of frost over the windows. It's over the entire vial, and the ice is sort of crept up over the cork as well. Now you can hear the pearl rattling around in there, and then when you bring it out into the sunlight, it very quickly starts to melt away in the rays of the sun, and the sort of blackness that had filled the vial when you originally put it in there, when it was pouring darkness off of it, that seems to have receded, and there's just that little dull black bead rattling around in the bottom of the glass bottle.
Will it do the same thing in the light of the Heart of Flame?
When you bring the Heart of Flame over, it doesn't seem to have any particular reaction. If you had to guess right now, it looks inert, whereas previously when you picked it up, it was active.
Gotcha. Okay. But sunlight does melt the darkness away.
Well, or it just melted the ice away and then the darkness was gone. You're not sure.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. And then what Cloak would do is then like run over to like the closet that we have and like put it in the darkness and see what happens.
Okay, you bring it inside, shutter the windows, put away all of the sunlight, and it just sort of sits there in the vial, not really doing much. The vial is still very cold to the touch.
So it might be sleeping and it might be active at nighttime. So we got to keep an eye on it. I don't know if I want to give it to the Collegium just for its properties. I don't know if you remember, but like when we were down in the dungeons, or the under Zobek, I don't know. The shadows made me feel sick, and so I kind of want to like find a way to deal with it. And I mean that torch. The torch with the blue flame. What's it called again?
The Heart of Flame.
Oh yes, the Heart of Flame. That seems to like shoo it away, which is good. But yeah, we gotta find what we're gonna do with it.
Yes.
Well, this thing.
Well, I agree. But I mean, if you do not want to give that to the Collegium yet, perhaps we should leave it here, as I'm sure they have many ways to detect magic or might be able to sense something like this from the Shadow Realm entering into the Collegium proper. Oh. But so maybe we leave that here, and then we go take. I will
also throw out there that the Collegium is one of the few places on Midgard where there is decent knowledge of shadow magic. So there is possibly someone there who could tell you more about it, if you wanted to bring it to their attention. And nothing says you have to give it to them. You can just go and see if you could consult with someone about it.
Maybe we go and we ask first and then bring it back later. I don't know if they will take it from us. I mean, in general, how controlled is magic? Is it something like if you're carrying something magical that the Collegium would like take the things away from you, or is it more of a true just center of knowledge of be careful with that type idea? The
Collegium is a place of knowledge and study, and so it can be very competitive amongst its faculty and students. There can be some downright bitter rivalries, but in general it is a place of learning. It is just an exclusive place of learning. So if you're not a member of the Collegium, you might have difficulty moving around. So you guys had a foot in the door since you were agents of one of the masters. And that sort of got you in, and you have permission to use the library, that sort of thing. You could probably trade on that for at least a little bit. That goodwill will probably wear out if you're not actively working for someone at the Collegium, if you're not a member.
Gotcha.
However, there was a suggestion by the dwarf you were working for that you should seek membership. Perhaps you should consider that.
Right. So yeah, I think all of the above. So now that I've got a better understanding of it, that it's not like some place that regulates high magic or anything like that. In that case, I think Glaz would be again, hopeful Glaz would be like, well, we should just bring it along. I'm sure that we can talk to Master Diviner Rudwin, and he might be able to point us to someone who could tell us a little bit more about it. If anyone knows about shadow magic, it'll be the Collegium.
And if we're going to be here, wait, can anyone join the Collegium? Can I join the Collegium?
I do not know. I mean, I'm sure that my Bimian training is what might have gotten me in, but I mean, I've seen that you have magic and you can see portals, which is not the same thing, but kind of like shadow roads, and that is magic. And I don't know. We could ask.
So it is mostly a place of arcane study. So while you probably couldn't swing, the direct spellcasting chops and knowledge to join You do have some fairly unique skills and insights that they would be interested in, and so you could probably leverage that into something with them, if not a full membership. Maybe like a
freelancer,
like a consultancy, that sort of thing. An adjunct. Visiting Professor Cloak.
I'm going to teach you how to stab people today.
So he would look at Glaz and be like,
Well, let's get off our checklist and then let's go do some research and go to the Collegium.
So, yep. So first, we need to go to the Everforge and drop off the flame so you can get your mask made, and we will head there, and then we will go to the Collegium, and
we can need Puff to guard Paula this time.
Yes, that would be a great idea, and also the Heart of Flame, because that is what I think they truly wanted.
Yes. And then maybe we can get armor made for Puff.
Certainly.
Amana.
Yep, Madame Everforge is in fact a skilled armorer, and that would certainly be something that she could arrange to do. So if you guys want to head to the Gear District and check out the Everforge Smithy, you will actually probably on the way run into Riodan heading that way as well.
Hello, Riodan. How are you?
I'm well. I've just picked up my new armor. Do you like it?
Aren't you handsome in all of that? It is very it is very shiny.
It's not as clunky anymore.
No, not so clunky anymore. Paula's done a good job. I just picked it up from her. Where are you off to?
We are going to Paula ourselves.
Oh, mind if I tag along?
Sure, I will go taking her the Heart of Flame.
Oh, right, that whole thing. Right, yes. Remind me what on earth that thing was and why we are interested.
It is elemental fire, and she was going to use it to see if she could maybe use it to form the scale of the dragon so that he could make a mask for Cloak so he would look very cool.
Yes.
All right, I'm in. I'm interested again. Let's go.
Okay.
All right. So you're still just sort of drinking yourself into a little bit of a quiet stupor for a few days. Is that the plan there, Kane? Yeah,
pretty much.
All right. All right. Yeah. Anytime you feel like you want to jump back in, or we can handle their business, and then.
Yeah, I feel like he'll give them some time. He'll be separate. Okay. And is there any way I can try and figure out, or start to figure out, what the fuck is going on with my ability to read languages?
Okay.
I'm trying to figure. I've been trying to figure out for a little while how I even go about trying to figure it out.
Okay. So one thing that sort of deals with everybody here except Glaz. If you recall, after that strange encounter you guys had down in the cartways with the cult leader and the dark servant, and all of that horrible shadow magic that was spewing out all over the place that nearly killed Whisper, and it left you all feeling sort of detached and just sort of almost like borne down, like a little depressed almost. That feeling has lifted sort of over time as you got out and had your adventures amongst the Margrave and all of the investigation you did prior to that, and now these couple days you've spent recovering after you've returned. You didn't even necessarily notice it anymore, but now that it's gone, it's very conspicuous in its absence and how much better you feel. So you're no longer suffering disadvantage on wisdom checks made against other people or charisma checks against them. So basically, just those shitty kind of depressive down days you've been having have just lifted, like fog burned away in the sunlight, and you feel loads better. So, that said, you're feeling a little bit more motivated than you might have been previously, particularly in the light of all the adventuring distractions you had, to try and pin down some of these little mysterious loose threads that are whizzing about your life at the moment. So, let's see. Why don't you just give me a general intelligence investigation check?
Okay.
And let me double check one thing real quick before we do that, because you now have city as a favorite terrain. Yeah. So that might come into play, giving your roll a little boosty. Are you proficient in investigation?
Let me just check. No, I don't believe I am.
No. Okay. And your favorite enemies are what? Humans? Or
yes.
Humanoids? Is that right? Two different types of humanoids, right? Yeah. All right.
So just investigation?
Yeah, go ahead and make me an intelligence investigation check.
Wow, not one. Fuck. I'm screwed.
All right. So you've been spending some time thinking about it, and you're not particularly coming up with anything. But I will point out that at several points since returning to Zobek, you have noticed that you heard languages that you just did not understand, right? However, at the moment, it sounds like there are some rough and tumble sorts down the way. They're talking to each other in a dialect that normally you don't speak, but right now you can understand what they're saying.
But I guess I don't know what it is that I now. I don't know what language I'm.
Yeah, it's like a minute ago they were speaking a different language, and now you're just sort of half listening into their conversation, and it sort of hits you that while you understand the meaning of their words, the words themselves are gibberish. They're another language. So if you focus on it, you can realize, shit, it's happening right now. I'm hearing this language, and I'm and it's making sense when it shouldn't. But as far as why, you're still kind of at a loss. And
I can't figure out what triggers it. It's just
perhaps at some point you can, but not with that roll.
Yeah. No, with that shit. Yeah. Okay, right. In which case, I will. I'd like to.
You do determine that it is happening, and it seems at least somewhat intermittent. It's not constant.
Okay, I'd like to spend my action to curse your name, Dan.
Very well.
Yeah.
That is in fact a prescribed action in the player's handbook.
Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah.
I'll move.
All right, so you can spend some time trying to figure that out, and maybe we'll revisit that in a moment. Okay, so you guys head into the Everforge Smithy. You make your way across.
That's after she got rid of me.
Yeah, just after you're going to darken her door again, and she's just going to be like, oh. On your way there, you can hear the sounds of the gear grinders and tinkerers in the gear district, and particularly you can hear the prayers being called out to Voland, and accompanying their prayers is the rhythmic hammering of an anvil that is used as an altar in the temple, and you can hear these rich baritone dwarvish voices singing their praises to the god Voland and accompanying the hammer strikes on the anvil altar as you pass by the great arched doors of the temple on your way to the Everforge Smithy. And as you do, a shadow passes over you as the sunlight is kind of breaking through the overcast at this very moment, enough to draw your attention up to two great winged shapes flying overhead. Perhaps 200 feet up, you can see these massive gray speckled forms. They're a strange combination of eagle and lion, with great beaked heads, broad feathered wings, and the back quarters of lions. And there are these exotic saddles strapped around them, and you can see what look to be human knights with lances with pennants snapping from the tips, held at ready, shields strapped to their arms, and they're holding the reins in their shield hands, flying on these griffins over the city, wheeling toward the north.
Has Glaz ever seen these before, or is this his first time?
You have been in Zobek a little bit, so you have seen them before. Yes, you do know that at the Citadel, at the heart of the city, which is the kind of large castle edifice that overlooks all of the rest of the city around it. Minor point, since I made a little mistake when I described Zobek the first time. Castle Shadowcrag is not in sight of the city. It's several days' ride to the north. So the fortress that you see kind of brooding over the city is the Citadel in the center of town, and then everything else spreads out from around it.
Gotcha.
You know that there are Griffin Knights that train and work and actually hail from the Strauss family's control of Zobek from long ago. They started the Griffin Knights.
Glaz, even though he's seen them before, is still just as fast. Look! It's the Knights. It's the Griffin Knights. Do you see them?
No, I do. Do you want to go feed the griffins?
Oh, we perhaps go feed the griffins later. You know it's my favorite thing.
I hear they sell
we have much to
bags
do.
of feed at the Citadel.
Have you never gone to feed the griffins, Ryodan? It might do you some good instead of just laying around the fuckhouse all day.
I always thought those knights might have been overcompensating for something with those giant lances.
I do not know what you mean.
So they make their way toward the Citadel, or finishing their patrol around the city, and you can continue on your way on the clean, well-maintained, cobbled streets of the Gear District, and you find yourselves at the Everforge Smithy. When, for several of you at least, the last time you were here, the door was broken in, the inside was in a shambles, and you were following a trail of blood left by Mistress Everforge when she was kidnapped.
Just because I think Glaz would do this, and I know it's tropey and it's from a show, but it's like, hola. All
right. So a voice, her sort of rich, deep voice rings out from within. Enter.
Hello, we brought you the Heart of Flame, and for you to make the mask for Cloak. And look who we bumped into as well. He's wearing his new armor.
The bitch is back, baby.
She smiles. Lord Ryodan, how nice to see you again. And Master Carnelian, Cloak.
I think he has a crush on you
both as well. She just kind of chuckles dryly at that.
Oh, any day of the week, darling. We've seen this plate. Talk about this.
So, where would you like me to put this? Is there something special that I should do with it? Are you going to make it flare up like it was back at the underground?
So when you sort of wave the Heart of Flame around, her face her expression falls just a little bit, and she says, "All right, careful with it, please." All right. So I still have the materials you left with me, Cloak, and I've been experimenting with them somewhat in some of my off time. And surprisingly, I think I'm going to be able to work the scale, even though it's not metal. It seems to respond very similarly to metal. And so I think if we can light my forge with the Heart of Flame, I will be able to work the scale into to your specifications. So why don't we...
has a notebook out and he's writing it down.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Excellent. So why don't we sit down and talk about what you would like?
Okay.
And so you can kind of describe, what you want the mask to look like.
I think I want the mask to kind of resemble the dragon that we fought.
Okay.
But like very, very much a more simplistic version. And like not because I don't know if it had like a lot of spikes or anything, but like more of like a smooth version where it like comes like across, and like the eye holes are very like dark, and then like the tusks would like come down and acting like it looks like the dragon's like roaring with this mask.
Okay, so its face was, it was just a wormling, so it didn't have like huge jowl spikes like you've seen dragons depicted with before. It has a few shortish horns more to the top of its head that kind of sweep back along the curve of its neck, so it doesn't have like big prominent horns. And she could probably do something decorative near the top of the mask, like a little bit of a, almost sweep it back into like kind of a half helmet sort of deal. That would replicate those a bit, and it had a little bit of a nose hook, and then that was it as far as horns go. So it has a very slight ridge over the eyes, but nothing that'll be huge or terribly prominent. So it'll be relatively smooth, as you would prefer.
Yeah, so not as much detail, so she doesn't have to spend a lot of time doing it. But yeah, then the bear fangs.
And then you want the bear fangs kind of on either side of your own mouth, or that sort of deal. And is the mask going to cover your mouth completely, or is it like a half mask?
I'm gonna say half mask.
Okay.
So people can hear him talk.
Yeah, so it'll stop about at your top lip, and then that's where the fangs will come down sort of on either side, almost like a mouth guard.
Yeah.
Sort of deal. Okay.
It's really close to what you're wearing, dude.
It is pretty close to what you're wearing, yeah. She there you go. So she talks you through your dragon mask consult, And you guys hash out the details, and she comes up with some pretty decent sketches of what you're thinking and makes adjustments as you go along. And so she says, well, if I'm correct, and the Heart of Flame will make the scale even easier to work, then this shouldn't take me terribly long, but I am going to take my time to make sure I don't damage the scale, since we only have the one. At least the only one of this size. I know you took a few more, but this is the only one I think that will work for your purposes. So if you leave the materials with me, and she looks at the forge and looks at the heart, and it looks like she was about to say leave the flame, but she's kind of hesitated from saying that, like she doesn't really want it here.
I do not know if it will help. But perhaps it will. I am a geomancer, and I am still actually attuned to, sort of connected to that ley line that was back at where we were before, where we took the Heart of Flame from. Perhaps I could somehow channel some of its energy here for you, so that it is more controllable, or did that make it less controllable? I'm new to this whole Heart of Flame thing, I must admit, but I know before they were using sort of the ley line to help out, and
she says, she says, I wasn't ever taught how the hulls of Everforge were constructed or how they channeled that energy, but I'm certain it did. I know they used very specific glyphs, sort of a blending of arcane magic and the Ignan primordial tongue, the language of fire, if you will, to help bind and focus the energy. In fact, they channeled it to all manner of mundane tasks like the torches. It's possible that if you can tap into that energy and we could inscribe the correct glyphs, that would make it much more controlled, focused, and easier to work with, but I don't know those symbols.
So, Glaz, I believe, if I remember correctly, speaks Ignan. That was one of the languages we did. Well, I'm trying to bring it up. I might speak Terran, or we said that it was like all of the. I've got it there because I had to write it down. I had to write it down elsewhere.
I wanted to say, yeah, I wanted to say you spoke Terran, but that still gets you there. It's a dialect of the same language.
Yeah. So yes, I speak Terran, and he pulls off his leather thing and shows the glyphs that he copied down from the stove, which were to help control. To help control things. He goes, perhaps I can, if we work together, and Cloak is very smart at things like this, perhaps if we can use my knowledge of Terran, it's close to Ignan, and we have these controlling glyphs that were used for a stove for cooking, so perhaps we can turn your hearth here into actually very similar to what was set up there at the Everforge.
All right, so since you did in fact copy down those strange glyphs you found on the stove,
Team
and
nerd.
having investigated them at the time, because as you recall, the stove had become unstable over the years and essentially turned into a bomb that you guys were planning to set off on some unsuspecting a-holes should they wander upon you. You think that you can make the necessary alterations that will restabilize the sigils, and it's essentially the same sequence of glyphs to work on a stove as it would be on a forge. It's a very similar process, and you think having the Heart of Flame there physically rather than drawing on it from another place will anchor it even further. So you think that using those glyphs and your connection to that particular ley line, you can tie that together with the Heart of Flame that you're carrying to basically supercharge her forge.
So, shall we give this a try? Would you like me to roll, or is this a gimme?
Why don't you go ahead and make a intelligence arcana check with advantage, since you've got, her helping, you've got Cloak advising, he had Team Nerd, as he said, and, Riodan just sort of leaning against the wall, looking awesome in his shiny new armor, observing his minions. Yeah,
I'm rifling through her things. What are we doing? Oh
yeah.
yes, I'll help out.
Okay. You guys are doing a good job.
Excellent work, everyone. Honestly,
It's only an 11.
Only an 11. That is all right though. That is sufficient to transfer the altered glyphs onto a sheet of parchment for her, which she will then begin basically stamping into the side of her forge. So after, we'll say an hour and a half of work between consulting about it, figuring it out, getting it on paper, and then transferring the actual runes onto there, she sort of straightens up, wipes her forehead, and sets the hammer and chisel aside, and gestures toward the forge and said, "Well, I suppose all that's left is to try and light this thing. If you could place the heart of flame in the center of it, and I suppose draw on your connection to the ley line."
So what would this be? Just a general...
this isn't going to require any sort of check at this point. Okay, you guys you did not flub the sigil transfer, so this is something that you can just go ahead and do.
Okay, so Glaz gets there and sort of takes the heart of fire, and he sits there and looks at it for a little bit, and as it sort of does its flame-like wavering there, there's a little bit of flame does make some sound, and he tried to just sort of listen to it and almost listen to it as though it were the ley line, and then add the sort of counterpoint that he hears in his head of the piccolo still going off, just with little, by whistling. And I'm a horrible whistler, so I won't do it. And also through mics, that could be bad, into people's heads. So, but basically sort of whistling this little counterpoint to the crackling and sort of wavering of the flame, he adds these little notes of the piccolo to try to build and bring that ley line into the heart of flame. And as it builds, sort of then as he saw her do, sort of transfer it over and ignite the glyphs around her forge to create, I guess, an Everforge.
Okay, so you as you draw on the connection to the ley line, you hear the music in your head, and you begin to sort of whistle and sing that song of the line into the flame that you're holding in that little iron sconce, basically. You can see that the flame does in fact begin to dance in tune with the song that runs through your soul. Tied to that line. And Cloak and Riodan, you guys are watching this happen from afar. It looks just sort of like nothing's going on for a little bit, but then you can see the flame does begin to dance and writhe in time to Glaz's whistling, like he's snake charming it. Yeah.
With my portal lore, can I say for flavor-wise, I can see like Glaz like doing something and like notes like floating off and like into the fire and like dancing within the flame, like little fire notes.
What you see actually as he begins to whistle is there's this faint reddish light that begins to outline his form, and as he breathes and whistles and occasionally speaks, sparks as of from a fire or a forge begin to sort of blow out of his mouth and dance down into the flame. And as the little sparks hit the blue flame, that's what begins to set it dancing and moving in time to his music. None of you guys see this, but Cloak sort of in tune with planar and otherworldly energies can sort of see the connection happening. And as he does so,
I'm telling Glaz about this later.
Yeah, as you bring the flame over toward the forge and you bring it down into the charcoal that's there waiting to be lit, Paula begins to intone, kind of in a soft voice in Dwarvish, this very rhythmic sort of. It sounds almost like a mantra, maybe a prayer, maybe like a motto. She's saying over and over again, and as she does, and you bring that into the forge, the flame bursts out of the sconce and just runs like liquid, like liquid flame amongst the coals and begins to seep into them and ignite them instantly. You kind of jump back a moment and you watch as you see the runes that you designed and that Paula inscribed on the forge begin to writhe and dance with this flaming blue light that fills in the edges, and the forge bursts into this sapphire glow, and this wave of heat just rips across you. And Cloak, when it does, you can almost see the heat in the air, and it's charged with these blue rolling sparks. And for a second, you hear that song that you heard back in the Great Forge, in the Lost Halls, when you were desperately closing the portal before whatever was singing the song showed up. You hear these faint baritone voices singing this warlike chant or hymn just for an echo, and then it's gone. And you can just feel this power emanating from the forge.
I don't sense a portal though.
No.
Okay.
But it is definitely drawing on similar energy.
So Glaz just sort of steps back and, for once, probably quietly to everyone else, he's just like, "Oh, will you look at that? Look."
Oh yeah, I did look at that.
He just takes a big, huge, like childlike grin on his face.
Okay, so at that moment, Paula, just sort of staring into the fire, she blinks her eyes and turns to look at the three of you, and she says, "Well, this is going to be my day, I suppose. I'll begin working on the mask. I would like you to return and take the flame with you tonight. I don't want to leave it here."
Oh, well, no, we can take it now, and then we'll give it to the Collegium.
No, she needs it to work.
I think if you do that, the forge will be snuffed, and I'll have to light it again normally.
Oh, okay.
I think this will only work while the Heart of Flame is in it.
Okay.
This is fine.
So
You're leaving Puff here, right?
She pulls on her sort of leather gauntlets and ties on her thick leather apron and picks up her tongs and clamps them around the scale. And she says, "I'm sorry, you're leaving the hound here?"
Yes, to protect you.
And when you say that, Puff goes, "Yarf!" and kind of pads forward and wags her tail at Paula. And she nods. I'm trying to remember if she saw Puff in action. I don't know that she did.
He was not.
Would have in the dragon chamber.
You
he
held
stayed back.
Puff back from the dragon. So she doesn't really know what's going on with Puff. But she sort of looks at you and sees the. She didn't go to the owlbear fight. She stayed back from the LC.
You're right.
Yep. She at least, while she has some skepticism, she takes it at face value currently, probably because she has a hell of a lot of trust and owes you a tremendous debt. And she just nods once and says, "Well, let's just try and keep her back from the forge, and she's welcome to stay."
Oh, she's pretty smart, so you could just give her any command and she'll do it. You just gotta talk to her like she's a person, right, Puff?
And she kind of noses her muzzle under your hand when you say that.
Yeah, it's okay. Yes.
So Paula says, "All right, Puff, why don't you make yourself comfortable over there in the far corner? You can see everything that's going on, and you'll be far enough away from the flames." And so she obediently, the dog sort of circles around you once, kind of leaning her weight against you, Cloak, and then trots off to the corner and settles herself in and lays down, resting her chin on her paws, just kind of looking at all of you.
And then Cloak would look at Polly and say, "Yeah, when I come back, can we talk about some other orders I kind of want to make?"
Certainly, I'm always going to be willing to entertain commissions from you folks.
Yes, I would like to. I appreciate that very much. But we're gonna head to the Collegium now, and then we'll be back. How long do you think?
This is most of my day, so if you return this evening, perhaps a few hours before dusk.
Okay, I'll be back then.
We can do that, yes.
All right. So she takes the scale and buries it down in the burning coals. Says,
And then
I wish you a fruitful search then.
Thank you. Real then, do you want to come to the library with us? We are going to read lots of books and talk about spells, and we are going to try to do some decoding.
That all sounds very interesting.
Wait. There's girls at the library.
There are girls at the library.
Are there? I assumed that there would be along.
I mean, but they're your kind of ladies.
Books.
Just go with it.
What are you talking about?
Damphir? They're not that. We didn't see any Damphir there.
No. No,
I did not see any bad fear there, but they seemed very intelligent and very scholarly. They were reading books. I always find it very, very attractive when I see a lady reading a book.
Oh, I'm sure you do. Well, you know, maybe I'll try and find Kane, see what he's up to. Something tells me it might be just as interesting. And, you know, splitting the party 2 and 2, you know, that seems fair. He might be lonely. And you seem to have this all under control. You know, you speak to those library girls. Like
where's Kari?
Oh, I hadn't thought about her for a while. Somewhere, I'm sure.
You remember that she went in search of the current location of the Shadowfey embassy, which is notoriously difficult to find if you are not invited, and sometimes even if you are. They're weird like that.
I'll go find Kane. You all have fun in your library. It sounds just really unique.
Wonderful. Doesn't it sound wonderful? It'll be such a wonderful time.
It will be a wonderful time. I wanna, and then they probably Cloak just totally forgets that Reardon's there because he's like not interested in the library, and then like points out like in his notes. I was like, "This is what I saw just now," and then it's just like walking off with Glaz.
Yeah, so Glaz and Cloak walk off back towards the library, talking and looking at notes, and
I slip out back and just sigh and shake my head at Paula. Honestly, I don't really hang out with nerds like this all the time.
Only when it matters.
You know how it is. I'm gonna find my exciting friends.
Well, good day then.
Who am I kidding? We go off to find.
All right. So the two of you, the nerds, head off toward school, and and you're gonna go find Kane. Let's see. Why don't you give me your choice of a charisma persuasion or charisma investigation check? Try and track down where he's holed up.
Okay. Let's take a look. Investigation. There it is. Let's try that. That's 18.
Nice.
Just let me die in peace. Fuck's sake.
No one to hang out with.
All right. So you are able to track down that he was apparently talking to the kobold coachman known as Black Eye, and that he headed off toward that horrible dive bar.
Oh.
in Lower
really?
Zobek.
That's what all my friends are doing. Fine. I like. It's the equivalent of me like putting on like gloves, you know, like like CSI style gloves for going into this place.
Nice.
Wow. As I see Kane. Wow, this is really. Kane, it's so good to see you. No one's doing anything fun. Figured I'd find Kane. You. And
so as you're basically
I'm so bored.
So the door opens, and you're not really paying attention to it because you're in the middle of an arm wrestling battle. And just as you kind of catch your opponent's eye, and you let just all of your malice and all of the thirst that's been building up inside of you, because it's been a little while since you indulged, just sort of show in your gaze, and you can see there's that prey animal fear break over him. You can't control it. It's just primal. In that moment, you just slam his hand down into the ground and hear something pop in his wrist, and he just kind of howls and rolls away, nursing his arm. And there's a raucous round of cheers.
With excitement as I see this. Ooh, exciting!
Some coins change hands, and as you scrape some winnings over to your side, along with the fresh foamy tankard that's been brought over of just the worst piss water beer that Zobek has to offer, and you swill that back, you could kind of like see over the top of your tankard, and you choke a little bit as you see
it's like
ooh, goody.
It goes from like bad beer to curdled milk in a second. There's like I see Riordan across this, and I'm like, son of a bitch. But no, I like, yeah, he finishes the flagon, slams it down, and glowers at Riordan, but then looks mildly bemused. It's like you're just standing, like trying not to touch anybody or any surface.
Yeah, every single surface in here, Riodan, is probably sticky.
Sticky, yeah. It's like as you come through, you can feel the soles of your very expensive shoes like peeling off.
Ooh, yes. Wow, look at this place. Wow, this is fun. So,
why are you here?
Well, everyone else is doing their thing at the library. It's just awful, honestly. Kane, they thought that there were girls at the library. Like that was where they go to meet girls. They go to the library. I mean, it quite astounded me. There's a perfectly good fuck house just down the road, and they go. It really did astound me. Carrie's gone off to meet her similarly edgy brethren, and so I'm bored. Honestly, I'm bored. And I was hoping that you'd be up to something like breaking people's arms and stuff, and I see that you are. So here I am, and this place is filthy. I mean, it's absolutely awful. But you know,
Kane is equally filthy. Like Kane has like sweat and grime across him. He looks like he hasn't been out in a few days. He just looks. He fits in. He blends in perfectly here. He's got like a hood up. He's got. Round these parts, they call me Strider. And I'm smoking my pipe edgily in the corner. But no, like Kane.
Yeah, he's very much in his element, except for now. Now he's a little frazzled. But
yeah. But yeah, he sympathizes because he's also a man who's not used to being. Like libraries really aren't Kane's thing either. So finally, like after sort of just mockingly grinning at Reardon, he relents, leans forward, and he says,
I've done some digging.
And he'll reach up and whisper, we'll have a little...
It's not physical digging. That's not something I enjoy.
I wasn't with the dwarves that long.
And he'll reach up and he'll take sort of what was going to be sent by Whisper, probably to the fuck house to find Reardon, a little note that he's written, and he will put it down in front of you. It's like rolled up, it's not particularly long, and it just says, got a lead on the Black Shield's leader.
Oh, those guys. All right. Yeah, I'm in. Sure.
Has it been a few days? You know, I've been here a few days. Is it around about time for this dickhead to do his grocery shopping?
You've been here about 2 days, and you expect that tomorrow night will be the time that this dude is showing up at the black market for whatever he's looking for.
Are we going to find him?
Kane nods, and after, he sort of nods, but like he there's probably like a date and time there, not like a location, but a date and time. So we've got a day to kill.
We should do something, you know, like
what did Reardon and Kane do? That's my point. What did?
Yeah, I think they're like. I think what Reardon finds really fun is like
starting a fight and having Kane finish the fight.
Yeah, right. No, it's like seducing people with like vampiric powers, whoever they may be, like thugs, whatever. Finds it really funny that they find themselves attracted to him, and then like get into fights with them and let Kane beat them up for him. So it's kind of like a thing where like he goes, like it's kind of really fucked up. Like he goes and hits on people, and they seduce him, and then he's like, "Kane, they're touching me," and his boyfriend comes along and beats them up.
I love this idea so much. I want this to happen immediately.
Right, so you guys are trolling the smuggler bar. Got it.
Yeah, right. So that's. Okay, yeah. So, like, I guess, yeah. Kane will do like his very best. Like, he's gonna sit in his corner and he's gonna wait. And like, I imagine Reardon does the classic, like, oh yeah, like, oh thank you so much, like, oh you bought me drinks. Maybe you should join me and my other half at the. And they just point to where Kane has been sat, beating the shit out of people for the past like 2 days. It's just like, yeah, that's him over there. And then one thing leads to another, and just okay.
Yeah, watch the faces just fall. All right, so you guys are spending the day getting people's hopes up, and then beating the absolute piss out of them. Is how I understand it. All right. So that will be interesting. Let's jump back over to the Collegium and get this research handled. So you guys head to the Collegium district, Cloak and Glazishan, and you head up to the doors of the Collegium itself, which, as you'll recall, are these great brass and silver and iron constructions. And after you make your presence known by pulling on a bell pull, a little sort of window opens. And there's a person inside. You can see basically just eyes and bridge of nose. And yes, your business at the Arcane Collegium?
We have multiple things we are planning on doing. We wanted to see Master Diviner Rodwin Whitestone. We have a library pass. I was wondering if we could visit a spell.
As Glaz is just chattering on, the eyes sort of squint and lean forward as Cloak is sort of like hopping up to show him the writ that he's got. And oh yeah, very well. One moment. And the little door shuts, and then there's a sudden just clattering cacophony from inside the door and the frames around it, and you can hear gears clattering together. You can hear spring tensions, and the doors begin to swing outward, and you can see the teeth of gears in the actual sides of the door once it opens and swings towards you. You can see all sorts of clockwork mechanisms spinning and clattering inside there. And there's sort of an older human in a very simple brown robe, and he sort of steps aside and says, "Yes, this way." He gestures to Cloak. I presume you know the way, then?
Yes, I do.
Very good.
What's your name?
Davith.
Hi, Davith. It's nice
Hello.
to meet you. Do you guard the door?
I am at this moment vetting all those who would request entry to the Arcane Collegium, among other duties and studies as well.
That's a super important job. Thank you, sir. And then he would walk off.
He sort of like puffs up a little bit and goes, and turns back to the door to shut it again.
Glaz is straightening up his shirt and sort of looks at Cloak and goes, "It is always such ceremony to come in here. It really makes you feel special, doesn't it?"
I know it does. I'm not a mage, but if I went to school here, I think it would be like super magical. And then there would be like this one girl who would be like, "Hey, this is how you say the spell, like Mediosa," and it's like, "No, it's Mediosa," and then you're like, "Okay, whatever."
You have very detailed impressions of things.
What's your guys' first order of business?
Should we go to the Master Diviner first, or do you want to go to the library?
No, Master Diviner first. Library comes because the library is going to take a lot of time. Let's go there, and then we can go to the library, and then in Nihheim there's a lot of mages there, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I thought they were all like hunters and stabby in the
No. They're actually pretty intelligent there, and I think they have their own school. I can't remember. If they did, I flunked out, because I'm not as smart as them.
All right, so you guys take the path that you have traveled before. You remember how to return to Diviner Rodwin Whitstone's office, and you find yourselves facing his dark varnished door with the oak oak door with iron banding.
Yeah, is the same human woman his assistant there?
So that was just someone you sort of bumped into in the hallway who could tell that you were kind of lost. That wasn't his assistant particularly. That was just basically a helpful student. But yeah, so you find your way there. There's nobody there, so you can knock on the door, and you get you get to do your triple knock again.
Divine Rudwin.
Why 3 times? Why?
3 is a very magical number. Actually, you always have to knock 3 times when you're in Bimia. It is considered very proper, because if you don't, you can interrupt spells if you do 2 or if you do 4. So 3 and only 3.
He seems deadly serious, Cloak. As you're processing this, the door handle clicks and the door opens. There's no one there, but you can see that the sort of squat, broad form of Diviner Whitstone is across the room at one of the bookshelves, and he is arranging something, and he has his hand sort of back towards you, and he crooks his finger and says, "Come in."
Oh, hello.
Hello.
We have had such an adventure since last we saw you. You would not believe all the things that we have seen and done and killed.
I see the elemental plane of fire.
So he finishes setting the books up on the shelf and turns around to you. And if you recall, he has sort of long, straight hair. It looks like it was black at one point, but now has kind of gone iron gray. And his robe is sort of a rich blue with this very delicate silver embroidery that's very subtle, and you only really notice it when it catches the light.
I actually pay more attention now to the strange burn and scar that he has around his eye and across his eyebrow. We have just bumped into elemental fire stuff.
Yes, indeed. It does seem like a particularly intense blaze might have caused that strange scarring on his face. Now, what exactly? Hard to tell. From getting breathed on by the dragon?
I was gonna say, yeah. Glaz points to his ear that's half burnt away.
You see, like Cloak
now.
It looks like skin irritation now. It's like, oh yeah.
His looks like, I mean, it's a very nasty sort of puckered scar, and I would say it looks like not only was there intense heat now that you've had experience with dragon breath and elemental fire, but it also looks like there was some other element to it that seemed to have maybe corrupted the flesh in some way, and that has healed but not healed back quite right, even with divine assistance. So maybe dragon fire, maybe something more sinister. He smiles and he says, "So, what is it I can do for you?"
We have a couple things. First, we fought a flame dragon, and it burnt off the top of my ear, but I'm hoping it will grow back eventually. But flame is weird for me and Trollkin to try to grow back, but we'll see. But more importantly, we received some elemental fire. The heart of flame, it is in fact known by Paula Everforge, and the halls of Everforge. She told us what it was. We had to recover it because someone was opening a portal that Cloak was able to see into the plane of fire, and we think we saw the city of brass.
His face grows concerned. And he says, "All right, I think perhaps you'd better start at the beginning and tell me the entire story." So he breaks out a book, flips to a blank page, and begins taking notes of everything that you can relate to him. So I assume you spend your time relating the entire story. Is there anything you want to leave out? Or Clint, is there anything you want to...
With anything that I want to leave out, no. I'm pretty much going to be straightforward with them because there's nothing I think I need to be shady about. There's nothing pertaining to the... Yeah, there's nothing pertaining... If it pertained to the gnomes of Nihine, yeah, he would, but this is not, so he doesn't care.
Okay.
And Glaz doesn't shut up because he's telling his stories.
Yeah, I'm sure Glaz is going to give him absolutely every detail. I just wanted to make sure that if there was something you wanted to jump in and shut down, you could do that. But if you're good with it, then you guys will be there for quite a while as he takes copious notes and Glaz gives him everything. So after you've related the entire story and shared whatever notes you took with him, which he will copy down with your permission, he will say, I've never heard of this Heart of Flame specifically, but it sounds like you have a condensed mote of elemental fire. And if you will, it is a piece of the plane of fire itself brought to Midgard. That is not something to be carried about lightly. As you've explained to me, it was used in conjunction with this ley line. And he gestures to your map and sort of asks if you'll bring that out and take a look at the information you copied down about the ley line in the forest.
Takes off his moose skin and lays it down sort of across, if there's like a coffee table or whatever, or something sort of between us, if we're in little settee chairs or whatever.
Yeah,
and
he has a sitting area,
yeah,
in the front room with a low, broad coffee table that you can spread your hide out on.
Yeah, I spread it out and I show him the ley line. I also show him the glyphs, and I'll even explain to him, because we're being straightforward about, that that this mode of fire right now is currently we found a way to contain it and match it with my geomancy and with these Ignan runes that we found on the stove, and are actually harnessing it, we believe successfully, listening for an explosion in the distance,
probably safely.
All his place. Yeah.
Okay. So he will take all of that in, and he'll sort of trace the ley lines that you have marked out. And you'll notice something that has struck you as a little bit strange is, given some of the knowledge you had during your studies at Bemia, there are greater ley lines that are well known across Midgard. One of them is referred to as the Shadow Road, and as Cloak, you've heard of this as well. You've even trod upon the Shadow Road before Glaz coming back with Kari. If you recall, you and the Dhampir have occasionally served as caravan guards for traders who do business with the Shadow Fae, and so you have traveled with them along the Shadow Road to the city of Coromel in the Shadow Realm. That is not only a Shadow Road, it is also a prominent, powerful ley line. And by all of your understanding, Glaz, it should end essentially anchored in Zobek. But you definitely haven't felt the presence of a ley line in and about Zobek. If you recall, you didn't feel a presence of one until you guys were deep in the forest.
Yeah, no, I haven't felt one at all.
Right. And so he is pointing out the area where you have pinpointed where the line was, and that sets you to thinking, as he's sort of talking about the magical energies that could have been harnessed by this all this flame business. And you realize that the line that you were sensing was not really an independent line. It was, if you think of it like a tributary of a river, it was an offshoot of the Shadow Road line. And then it had its own magical resonance that was separate from whatever the Shadow Road's main deal is, right? But it seems like whatever was going on there with this Heart of Flame and this open portal and all of that craziness with the Flame Dragon and whatever that Spensius fellow was up to, that might account for the lack of presence at this end of the Shadow Road ley line? You're muted, it seems.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. No, Glaz will just be, because Glaz is very aware from Bimia's just history. I'm sure, like, History 101, Bimia and History 101, about how the Bimians during the Mage Wars, the Mageocracy, moved the ley lines and then locked them down in Bimia. So suddenly remembering from, again, Zobek was far away, so he didn't maybe pay as much attention. He's putting two and two together and going, oh, well, by opening this tributary line, this smaller ley line, and opening up, and it was surging incredibly powerfully. While I was in there, I could feel it. It was interfering with everything. It turned the stove into a bomb, and you saw a portal. Has it moved? The Shadow Road? Is it? And he closes his eyes and really tries to see if he can feel anything of what would be because the Shadow Road's like a titanic ley line, right?
In general, yes, but remember that their strengths kind of wax and wane.
Right.
So depending on so many different factors, it can change. And the more geomancers, the more regularly a ley line is tapped, the more prone it is to shift. So if you have a whole bunch of people drawing on a ley line all the time, they're very likely essentially going to drive it away. But so this will be the first time since you guys have returned from the Margrave that you have actively opened your senses to a ley line, because previously you had felt that there was nothing nearby. Now, as soon as you do, your breath catches as you can hear this faint but definitely present, plaintive, almost violin notes stretching through the air towards you. And as you hear it, it just sort of fills you with this this melancholy feeling.
So, if I'm understanding what you're explaining correctly, it kind of sounds like someone dammed up a ley line, and it was building up. That's the only thing I can really relate it to in my head, if that makes sense.
Rudwin Whitstone nods and says, I believe that's exactly what he's getting at. That someone had essentially dammed the ley line and was siphoning its power into this place you discovered. And now, since you have closed that rift, the power should divert as natural.
Yes,
So whoever did it was part beaver.
I don't think that is exactly how that works.
Oh.
But perhaps a geomancer. I don't know.
Perhaps.
I don't know if you have to be, because people can tap into ley lines if they are not geomancers. It's just whether or not they have an easier or harder time of it, is my understanding. I did not get to finish my training in Dimia because I ended up in the Shadow Realm and then here.
No, it would require specialized training to tap into a ley line. Not just anyone can do it.
Oh.
Anyone
could
potentially
more
learn.
Special.
Anyone could potentially learn to do it.
I can. So I mean, like that's a and Cloak would at this point kind of be like, so what am I seeing then? When like, and I'll explain what I saw with when Glaz was like with the fire and the sparks were coming out of his mouth and the blue whirling sparks coming out and all that kind of stuff.
You're going to run through all of the stuff that you've been discovering with him then, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you gonna kind of tell? Okay, so he'll listen to that intently, and he kind of leans back, and he snaps his fingers, and a trio of goblets rise from the sideboard, and then a pitcher comes over and pours red wine in each of them, and one floats to each of you. And he takes his, and he downs it in one go.
I don't drink.
Well,
Glaz does.
Water.
Glaz, you want mine? I can mine the Glaz and then get like water and like drink it and like. But thank you, though. I appreciate the thought.
He inclines his head. He looks at both of you and kind of narrows his eyes. There's a great deal of esoteric magic in my company right now. You're a geomancer, a known but hardly common focus. You, whatever you're doing, I've only heard of it.
Okay, what have you heard?
I've heard that there are those who walk the world who tune themselves to it so well and so deeply that they can begin to stretch into other worlds as well and draw upon them. They're called Horizon Walkers.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's a cool name.
Horizon
I don't know
Walker
much more
Cloak.
than that. In fact, the details you've brought me are the most I've ever heard.
Oh.
Ooh, show him the pearl. Show him the pearl.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. And then he, like, pulls it out, and he's like, on to the next subject.
He kind of rubs his thick fingers over his wrinkled
That's quite an
forehead.
adventure, you'll see.
Wait, it is. Wait, so that means, can I be part of the Collegium, then?
Well,
And
you're
can
not an
Glaz be part of the Collegium, too?
Glaz, as I've said before, should absolutely pursue membership in the Collegium, and I will provide a recommendation.
Yes, I think I want to do that.
And he looks at you and he says, "You are not an arcanist, So I think you will find little direct value from membership in the Collegium, but
the library.
I suspect that you will learn valuable things that we would be willing to trade.
Okay.
So while you may not be a member in full standing of the Collegium, you would definitely be a valuable associate.
I could accept that. Do I get like a little pass or something that like you guys make out of like gold or something, and I show it to people? And I'm like, Collegium police, excuse me.
You will not be any sort of law enforcement, but why don't we move on to this pearl that your friend mentioned?
Oh yeah, okay. And then he pulls it out. Is it frosted over again?
Yeah, it's cold. It's very cold and it's frosted, definitely.
Okay. So in here is a little black pearl that pours out shadows. I'm not going to open it because it's corrupt as hell. So we got this, we met some DLC in the forest, and they pretty much told us.
Yeah, you were traipsing about in the Margrave.
Yeah, you know, well, we had to go save Paula, and so. Yeah, we didn't really pay attention where we were going through, which, you know...
So he holds out his hand for the vial, may I?
Yeah. With the cloth?
Sure. He takes it with the cloth, he kind of brushes the frost off of it, and he pops the cork open very carefully.
Oh.
And no darkness or anything comes pouring out of it.
Oh, that's good.
He sets the cork aside and carefully drops the pearl into his palm. And he looks at both of you and says, "Do you mind if I perform a divination to try and learn the nature of this bauble?"
Oh, sure. I mean, I'm going to take notes if that's fine.
He just smiles without answering. He holds up one hand and he begins making his arcane gestures. And he has a ring on one of his fingers. He has a ring on several of his fingers. One of them has a very large, very prominent iridescent pearl. And as he makes his gestures with his left hand, that pearl on his ring begins to glow. And then the shadow pearl begins to glow in response to it. And then after a second or so, the glow fades and he closes his eyes and then they pop back open. He says, "This is called a shadow pearl. It contains the essence of magic from the shadow realm. If one were," and he kind of drops it back into the vial with a clink, closes it again and pushes it across the table back towards you, Cloak. "If one were so inclined, you might attune to this pearl and draw on its magic."
This might be for like Kari. I hate shadow magic, honestly.
I think Kari, yes, absolutely. Could have much use from this.
Instill an area around it with the power of shadow. It will drive away the light, at least to an extent, and it will cloud the minds and the wills of those within it. And you can bid them to move against their will.
On second thought, I don't think we should give this to Kari.
Oh, she's just teasing when she tells you she wants to kill you.
So in game terms, guys, this is a shadow pearl. It's a shadow pearl. I'm sorry, it doesn't require attunement. It's a very rare, wondrous item, and you can command it while holding it. You can cast the compulsion spell, which creates a 30-foot aura around it, and it causes people to move how you direct if they fail a saving throw.
So it's like
it also creates... It's the compulsion spell from the player's handbook. It's the spell compulsion. It fills the area with dim light as well when it does that. And you know that once you use it, you can't use it again until the following dusk.
Okay. I hang on to that.
He kind of leans back in his chair and said, "You have indeed had interesting adventures."
It is very interesting to note. I was listening closely before we started talking about the pearl. I can hear what I believe is just Shadow Road. It is like a violin, and it makes me sad Kind of like all of you looked after you were sick with Shadow after we heard that horrible language back when we were getting the journal.
Oh, don't remind me.
He nods his head and says, I know a little bit about the Shadow Road. It is said to carry the mournfulness of the Shadow Realm with it as it flows.
Yes, it is like a violin.
You should be aware of that if you intend to try and tap its power.
Oh, like I might get the shadow sickness?
I suppose it's possible, but I don't think you would risk actual shadow corruption unless you're using shadow magic. But the resonance of the Shadow Road's ley line will carry some of that feeling with it, and that can transfer to those who tap it for power.
Ah, I understand.
So in game terms, it's basically just a resonance and flavor. It's not going to risk shadow corruption.
Gotcha. Whereas the piccolo kind of it sounds like flames dancing. This is just sort of sounds like mournful.
And it has a tendency
darkness.
to, when people draw on the Shadow Road to augment their spell casting, it kind of makes them, it kind of depresses them a little bit, gives them that sadness, that mournfulness.
Gotcha.
All right, so he says, as I understand it, you have still have desire to use our library. I think I should not take any more of your time, and you should avail yourselves of it while it's still under regular operation hours.
So, quick question. You were saying we should not walk around with a mote of fire, of elemental fire on us, but all we have is... Put it in a lantern or something? Is there a way to carry it better so I don't... Because I almost set my pack on fire twice when I was trying to put it away.
Well, we're actually going to go retrieve it tonight. Is there any way we can keep it at the Collegium?
Or have something made to keep it in, like a hooded lantern that you could put it inside, and then you could have it and open it when you need it and close it when you don't.
If you're looking for a safer way to carry it, yes, something along the lines of a lantern would certainly be better than carrying it openly, yes.
I'm wondering if we could take some of those runes that we put around the forge that we're controlling, we could maybe find a nice lantern, a hooded one, and we could scribe those on, and maybe even Paula could help us to make a mote of elemental fire lantern with a little hood on it. You could open it and close it.
That does sound that it would be safer.
But we can't keep it here.
I suppose if you wished to donate it to the Collegium.
We might want it, though. It did certainly help when we were fighting the owl bear, who was corrupted.
I still hear the war chants, briefly, but like a distant echo. So it's still tied to that.
Well, because it's tied to the plane of fire.
Yes, you have essentially drawn a sliver of the plane of fire into this realm.
Do you think it'd be safer with us or here?
Safer? Well, I certainly think it would be safer here under study and held in the vault, but I'm certainly not going to demand it of you.
Well, it might be safer here, but certainly less useful if we have to fight things with Shadow again. I have a feeling we are going to be finding... It seems like the Strauss family and Shadow are all wrapped up in whatever we're caught ourselves up in.
Strauss family. Yes. Well.
It was a very interesting journal that we shared with you. Have you found anything out about it?
I haven't had a great deal of time to study it. I've located certain passages in it.
Glass catches himself.
He's like, he doesn't seem to catch that, and he just sort of goes on and said, I've discovered certain passages in it that seem to be encoded, but I haven't had luck in breaking them yet. But I've been busy on other projects for the moment. But I've taken a great deal of your time. I should let you get back to it, and I should return to my own studies.
So I can do a Glass question or a DM question.
Sure.
Is there such a thing in the Collegium, literally as kind of like that you can go there to add spells to your spell books, like pay a fee or whatever to like in standard mechanics, it's like if you get a scroll, you can sometimes copy it in. Is a Collegium someplace that you can go like pay a fee, like a library fee or something to be able to add a spell to your spell book?
if you're a member of the Collegium, that is one of the things, that's one of the perks, basically, is you can kind of draw on some of the resources that they have. Now, a lot of the time you're dealing with other wizards who aren't necessarily keen to share whatever it is they know, but you have those connections, and you're much more likely to be able to find someone. If you're looking for a specific spell, you have a greater capacity to find it.
Okay. So Glasgow just goes, so we were out having many adventures, and while back at Bimia, when I was kind of bigger and more sturdy than the rest of my mage friends, and so I never really decided to study a spell that most of them have. I would really like to learn this spell called Shield, because there are things that hit very hard out in the world, and I don't like it very much. I know I'm not a member of the Collegium yet, but is that something that I could maybe go and purchase or pay a fee to be able to try to learn? How does that work?
Well, as you know, it's going to cost you at least a fair amount of coin in the specific reagents you'll need to properly scribe the spell, but I'll make it available to you as we'll call it a bonus for bringing me this interesting information.
Oh, I thank you for that. Yes, I will have to.
Cloak, if you wanted to go do library research, you could go do that while Glaz is scribing spells.
Yeah, one thing I want to say before he leaves, he's like, so how do we work out this, Collegium Associate thing? How do I have proof of that? So your other mages know.
He says, we're a small group. Word will spread once this arrangement is finalized.
Well, I was like, go ahead and finalize it. I'll be in the library. Bye.
Okay. All right. So, Tall Squall, you can spend the requisite gold, and you can scribe Shield into your spellbook.
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah, it looks 50? Like it's 50 gold pieces.
For a first level spell?
For each level of the spell. So it's a first level spell, so it'd be 50 gold pieces.
Very good.
And we have that new gold that we got from selling off the pretty
the robe. So what were you wanting to research, Luke?
Oh shit, that's a great question. Well, there's a lot of things he wants to research now. So, such as like anything on Horizon Walkers, which he probably knows there isn't much, and he probably knows, and especially by his conversation, he's not going to spend a lot of time on looking at that.
Okay.
Books about the planes now. He's interested about the planes and the different planes of existence. But he's also interested in if he can. I'm trying to think. What was the other things we needed to research?
I know you guys.
The other big one is trying to transcribe or translate that to do the cipher.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not really a
library.
It's not
thing.
really a
There's
library
much...
research task. That's like someone's got to sit down and start working on that.
Yeah.
Mainly just stuff about the planes currently, and how the planes and ley lines work together, so he can like talk to Glaz and like figure that kind of stuff out, and then basically anything about the type of dragon he fought and if it had a name.
Okay, so you want to research the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to research planar lore, just kind of in general, or something specific that you're looking for?
Maybe around the flame and kind of branch out from that, because that's the one he started with, okay. And then which would tie into the dragon, and then which he would like find out there's other planes and like and on that, and then. And that's what he's going to research today.
All right. So this sort of thing will probably take sort of like an extended amount of time. So it's something that you'll come back over the course of a few days doing, and then we can. Let's see. So I will basically. You have the base expenses that you would need to do this are waived. Essentially, it was part of your reward for working for the Master Diviner. If, let's see here, if you wanted to, say, spend extra gold for more resources or to, pay consultants, you could get bonuses on the roll. But if not, we're just going to make an intelligence check, and we'll see what you come up with.
I think at this time he would.
Yeah, we can just make that check now, and if Glaz is going to be assisting you during this time, you can do it with advantage. But if Glaz wants to work on the cipher, he can't help with that.
I think Glaz would want to work on the cipher.
Okay, that's fine. So I would just do it straight up because it's probably in what time? Afternoonish. Sure. And so
we're gonna do the roll now, but it's gonna take several days worth of research to come up with.
How much is it a consultant then?
So like
additional resources.
So basically, for every 100 gold pieces you want to spend, you can get a +1 to your roll to a maximum +6.
Okay, I'm not fucking Daddy Warbucks, Jesus. For now, I'm just gonna roll it straight up.
Okay. Throw it up there and let's see what we get.
Fucking nat 1. No. Yeah. Yeah. Natty. I'm not having a good time in this library. I can't find anything.
All right, yeah. So your research is slow going. That damn kobold that was attending the door the first time you guys tried to get in his back, and he is basically just wandering around and getting in your way every time you're trying to get to one of the shelves or find something specific. It just seems like he's got the books you're looking for, and he's real smug about it. So your research is making little progress, unfortunately. So if there's nothing else specific anyone wants to work on right now, we can jump forward to Kane's information about the fellows who, about the folks who were hired to work with the cultist people down in the cartways.
Should I roll for cipher translation now, or is that later?
Yeah. Go ahead and give me an intelligence check for that, and we'll see. I'll note the result of that, and we'll deal with that after you have time.
Are you in the library? Is Glaz in the library right now?
Probably not. I don't think.
Yeah, I see him hanging out back at the house, and probably probably sprucing up the house, and then works on the cipher some, and then spruces up the house and works on the cipher some, and makes stops and has tea whenever he sees Mrs. Not Cobblepot, Kettle Whistle. Not Cobblepot.
Or you can call her D.
D.
We're calling her Sweet D. Sweet D.
Says, oh, please call me D.
And you can call me Glaz. And he does his intelligence check. So just a flat up intelligence.
Just a straight up intelligence check.
Ooh, a 17.
Nice. All right. So that's cipher 17. Got it. Okay, so you guys spent the rest of the day working on your various research tasks. The Dampiers spend it rousting the smuggler bar in Lower Zobek, and the time comes for you to retrieve the flame from Paula Everforge's smithy. Oh, hello, buddy.
Oh,
that was
Goblin.
He's rambunctious. Uh-oh. All right, so you guys can return to the Everforge smithy and retrieve the flame. And when you arrive, Paula is sort of seated off to the side, and it looks like she's having dinner and feeding bits of it between her bites, feeding bits of it to Puff Puff, who is just happily there, snatching up each one that she drops for her. When you arrive, she lets you in with a smile, and she says, Cloak, I have a little bit more work to do on your mask, affixing the teeth and finishing some of the polishing, but I believe the primary forging is done much faster than I would have thought possible, if you'd like to see it.
Oh, yeah.
So she shows you the mask, and it looks fearsome. It actually looks very, very similar to the dragon that you faced, although it doesn't really have that inner glow of flame. that the living dragon itself did. It looks almost like black iron, except in a few of these places it's still hot to the touch, and it looks like there's just this faint, like a cherry red light, very, very faint in some of the recessed crevices of the mask.
Oh, that's so fucking cool. Yeah.
It doesn't have the teeth affixed yet, but it's basically done, and then she'll need to put the straps and all of that good stuff on it.
Oh my god!
Forging is done.
Oh, Cloak the Horizon Walker with his new mask.
Do 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 do. Yeah, it's very nice.
He would be like,
this is a
yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, okay. So we talked to the Collegium, and just get down to brass task. It is, and we're speaking of Glass.
Glass is with me, right?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Is there a way we can make a lantern that could hold the flame?
She kind of tilts her head to the side, considering it, and she said, "Yeah, okay, all right. I could see why you'd want something like that. That's a little." She looks at the kind of empty torch, iron sconce thing that Glaz has been carrying around, and he's kind of trottling over to the forge and starting to like poke at the blue burning coals, which are still burning at full force, and it's just like this low roar coming from the forge, and that waves of heat are just rolling over you as you head near to it. Glaz, it's a little uncomfortable, makes your skin.
It's so hot, my tusks are sweating.
She says, "I could see why you'd want something a little better contained. Yes, I think I can take just a normal hooded lantern and make a few modifications to it if you want it to be more secure."
That would be wonderful.
That would be simple enough.
So a couple of other orders I wanted to see. So when two things that I was curious about. Can you help me make armor for Puff Puff?
Oh, certainly.
And Puff Puff's a magical dog, so I don't know if you figured that out yet.
Well,
have you seen that?
She responds to my speech, so I assumed so.
Oh, yeah.
Well, look, and then he like takes a piece of the food off her plate and then like throws it, and then like she would like blink out of existence to go catch it and then blink back. And
right.
I was like,
yeah, you throw it across the room, and she Puff like jumps up and mid leap vanishes in that little spray of golden sparkles, appears up in the air, snatches it, and then lands and trots back over to you happily.
And then I'd be like,
well, is there something that we can put on her to help it? That's why I didn't have her fight the dragon, because I was afraid she would get hurt.
Oh, certainly. I've made barding before for a variety of mounts. I certainly could make some to fit Puff Puff. No difficulty at all.
Okay.
What specific variety of armor would you like for her?
I'm thinking.
On the logistical side of things, Cloak, barding costs 4 times a normal suit of armor's price. Although that's for horse barding, I'm gonna say it costs twice for a medium-sized creature instead of 4.
okay. I'll have to look at that.
It'll be basically armor cost times 2.
Let me look at prices real quick. Armor 5e prices, and kind of do the math real quick. So as I'm figuring this out, I look at her and I go, so another question is my sword. When I plunged it into the dragon, it kind of got a discoloration with it. I think it needs to be retempered. Is there any way that you can retemper it and kind of, refurbish it a little bit?
I should be able to do that, no problem. Yes.
Okay. I'm looking at.
But the cloak, it looks so cool that it's all blue. It's got neat markings on it from the dragon.
Yeah, but I think that's bad for a sword. If that tells me anything, I grew up around blacksmiths, and so that's something.
Swords.
Yeah. Let's see here.
So one thing I'll point out to you is that Puff Puff has a +3 dexterity modifier. The optimal one for her is probably something like studded leather, so she can use
leather.
it all.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. So I'd be like, is there a way you can make like a studded leather something for her?
She nods and says that'll be easy enough. In fact, I may even be able to get something that's already made. There are a few types of barding that are more commonly available. I think I'll be able to start there and have it done much sooner.
Okay. Well, how about this? And then he goes out. This is for everything, and he puts out the 2 last gems he has that are worth 50 gold, and gives them to her.
Okay. Yep, that'll cover it. And she'll actually give you 10 gold back in change because this will cost you 90. So.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Let me add that to my total.
So all set there then. Glaz, as you take that sconce and put it into the forge, the flame just sort of rolls back in that weird liquid fire way. It just sort of drains out of the coals and pulls itself up into the iron cage and begins burning there again. And you scoop it out.
This is so cool. And we will have you a nice home very soon, so you don't have to sit out in the sconce all the time, talking to the flame.
Uh-huh.
All right. So you guys conclude your business there, and you can catch back up with Riodan and Kane and find out about what they learned.
I imagine we're going to go look at the fuck house. That's the only place he would know they're at.
Yeah, we don't know that they're at the wheat sheaf.
Sure. So you guys return to the Soak Scabbard, and they are not present, although I imagine Riodan will be along shortly. After your rousing day, sort of knocking around the underbelly of Zobek with Kane, you find yourself headed back towards more familiar digs for better drink and
you
less
guys
fragrant
again.
company.
Hello.
So, can I do something silly? So
Sure.
Glad goes to the bar and says, "Well, he gets a mead because he likes his mead," and goes, "So I heard that I could pay to have someone be a companion."
No,
I mean,
No.
Most certainly, my friend, says the
Glass.
shaved-headed, big,
Does it cost
muscly armed, tattooed bartender.
Does it cost extra if I want to play games?
Well, it depends on the kind of games. I'm sure there are plenty that could be handled under the
I know lots and lots of
If
games.
we're getting into
How much is it
something,
to have someone who come play games?
If we're getting into something more esoteric, then, that's a more discerning taste. It's going to require a very special touch, and that will, of course, be more expensive, but it should be fine, my friend.
Oh, God.
The more games, the better. Is that kind of what I think is the way that it would be the best?
All right.
How much for someone who knows all the games?
Oh no.
Well,
I want to hear the price, but then.
So, are you looking for someone to keep you company all night, or just for a time in the evening?
How long do you think until Riodan gets here, Cloak?
I don't know. He could show up at any minute
here.
I believe he showed up. So this is about the time you walk in. You see Glaz in negotiations with the bartender.
Wait, Glaz is getting a companion that plays all the games we were done. Hold on.
Oh, is he now?
So what How long are you going to be? I assume, Rio, then you are going to go off and disappear for a little bit. So, a couple hours? Or are you going to be busy all night?
I've got nothing planned. Honestly, I've been beating up people in bars with Kane all day, so a bit of a refined evening might be in order.
Oh, I guess then just a couple hours would be good for all the games for a couple hours.
Oh God.
Hi.
All right. Did I misread here, or are you looking for companionship for Riodan as well?
Oh no, I'm not paying for him.
No.
Oh, very well.
I'm not looking for the same
Glass.
thing. I'll have wine, and I'm going to watch.
Oh God, Reardon, really? Oh God.
What?
All right. So, Derjan the bartender.
I
Derjan the bartender
secretly-
sort of claps cloak on the shoulder and says, "Well then, for someone who knows all the games for merely a few hours, 2 gold."
I'm not going to talk to him, man.
Do you just 2 gold?
Yes.
Oh, that's not bad at all. And so he goes, and here 3, so that we make sure that we have a good time. I'll be over in the booth right over there waiting.
Noted. He grabs the 3 and says, "Thank you. Your evening
can't-
will be along in a few moments."
You know what? I just kind of want to watch this person's face as I realize what he means. So let's go.
I'm going to watch. I want to watch Glaz's face when he realizes what he means.
All right. So for a moment, he's going to stop you for a moment, Glaz, and say, "Do you have any preferences on your companionship?"
Oh, whoever's smartest is fine. I am not fussed.
Oh, easily enough. I'll have a talk to Kaja and make sure that only the best is sent for you.
Oh, that will be wonderful. And he, of course, goes to the booth and starts unpacking his chess set and starts unpacking some dice and a deck of cards. And,
all right.
And like the fantasy version of Monopoly.
Yeah, very good. All right. So a few minutes later, a very beautiful human woman walks out from the back, and she's wearing a silk dress. It's not quite a gown. It's not quite that formal, but it is absolutely lovely, and it flows over her shoulders like sapphire smoke down to the ground, to these little silver embroidered slippers that are poking out from under the helm. She has long black hair bound up that then cascades down in these loose curls over her shoulders, and she comes up to your table and places a hand on your forearm and says, "Good evening, you're Glazishin, I presume?"
Ah, yes, I am. Aren't you just the loveliest thing? You know, your dress looks like smoke. We fought the dragon.
Now, she's from the elemental plane of fire because she's really hot.
I think I should like to hear all about that.
Please.
Worst
My
part
name is
is
Claudia.
I get a percentage of the commission. I call over. Tip well.
Yes, we can talk about that while we play the games. I hear you are most skilled player of games.
Oh, only the best. What would you like to play first?
Oh, I was thinking perhaps chess, or I've got the nice deck of cards here, or we can roll dice. We can play liar's dice. It's a fun game.
It's like this. Cloak is like this right now.
Shut up,
So,
Reardon! Don't take this away from me!
She quirks one perfect eyebrow, just slightly, looks down at everything you have spread out on the table, and then without a word or even a further second's hesitation, slides opposite you into the booth and says, "Pick your favorite. I know all of them."
Oh, God damn it, she's good.
I nod as though he's finally understanding.
I have been working on my chess game, so maybe we'll try that. Or would you like to start off with something a little quicker? Maybe some I just say gin rummy because I don't know what that would be in our
Yeah,
world.
no problem.
Maybe a card game first.
Sure. She picks up the deck of cards and begins shuffling, and she suggests a game, a common one that you've heard of, and she
Bridges
definitely
of
begins
Zorak.
dealing. Yep. You guys who are watching, she just sits down to play games with Glaz, and that goes on for a little while. And she occasionally suggests that if you would find it more comfortable, perhaps you could retire to one of the rooms, if you'd like to try some games in a more private intimate.
Oh no, here is fine. This way, everyone can enjoy as we play.
She agrees without batting an eye and just plays whatever games you want to play, however long you want to play for the evening.
Cool. What is your name, dear? Maybe so we can do this again sometime.
Oh, I'd love that very much. My name is Valia.
Valia, what a lovely name. Where are you from, Valia? He just goes on and making small talk.
She chats and tells you about herself. There you go. I put it in the chat so you can see how it's spelled.
And Kuvea, why a nice name. And he compliments her always on when she does good plays or teaches him things. And
Glaz, you have a scintillating evening. It is an absolute blast.
I need to come to the fuck house more often. After the night is over, he rejoins Rio Del Rey.
Oh, there it is. All right.
So I then rejoined them after however long they want to let Glaz sit there and play games with Valia.
I mean, you paid for 2 hours plus, so basically she'll spend the rest of the evening into the night with you.
What a lovely, lovely evening. This Riordan, I don't understand why you hang out here. You said you had found out some information, and
did I? Perhaps I did. I've just been having the most wonderful evening. I think the favorite evening that I've ever had.
This has been the greatest experience of my whole life. I commend that woman.
Any of you guys? Glaz
so
in full Glaz mode for 3 hours, playing all the games, all the most intricate, boring games you could ever imagine.
She plays games. She knows several games that you don't, and teaches them to you. She is able to converse with you on a wide variety of topics. Nothing like terribly arcane and esoteric, but she is well read.
No, we have a lovely evening in Glaz. I learned 2 new games. Have you ever played the Bridges of Zobek? It is a very fun game. It's a little bit different. We have something in Bimia that's the Tower of Bimia. The rules are a little bit different, but it plays very much the same.
Riordan, you have played both of those games. You suspect not the same rules they were just using.
I've played.
The Towers of Bridges.
The Bridges of Zobek is very different in Riordan's bedroom.
I look at the woman that Glaz hired to play games with, and I kind of lean in as Glaz is like explaining everything to Riordan, and he would be like, does that happen often?
More often than you'd be surprised, honestly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you asking her or were you asking Riordan?
Yeah, asking her.
Oh, okay.
Because Riordan and Glaz are going and talking.
Right. Does what happen often? Sorry.
Someone who doesn't understand what this place is comes to play games. And then plays games. Because that was hilarious, and you played it off very well.
Oh, does he not understand what the Silk Scabbard is?
Oh, no. We played at the fuck house, but he's like, oh, they play games here, and he wanted to play games.
When you call it the fuck house, she kind of scrunches up her nose a little bit, and a little crass, but I suppose it's accurate.
That's what Riordan calls it. So the lovely Silk Scabbard. I have to commend you. That was pretty amazing.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I take a great deal of pride in my work. I'm here to. I was here to ensure that Glazishin had a wonderful evening, and I like to think I succeeded.
He did. He's probably going to sleep really well tonight. Probably he'll sleep for a whole 3 hours, and then be up and again probably planning to play more games and waking me up.
I hope he comes back again. I had a lovely evening.
Well, I mean, if you ever want to play games, just let us know.
I will. She smiles dazzlingly at you and just sort of walks away. And she walks with this grace like a willow tree blowing in the wind.
Yeah, and then he's just like,
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. All right. So, Kane, when do you rejoin this carnival of fools?
I don't want to. I don't want to go back. Like, it's bad when it was just Reardon, but it's no. It's yeah. I guess I will return. I'm gonna gather the guys together when there's time to go after this. When it's time to go after this dickhead. What's his name? Hold on. Vandessian Thrick.
That's the one. Okay, so that, he is supposedly meeting wherever his cellar is at the Cartway's Black Market tomorrow night, the following night. So yeah, if you want to come back and get them like the following afternoon or whatever to have enough time to prepare, do whatever you guys want to do, that'll be plenty.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So, anything else? Any other pressing business anyone wanted to deal with? I will say that in the intervening time, before he comes back with his information, Paula Everforge will complete your request on the lantern, and Cloak, your sword has been retempered. It's going to be just fine. She even sharpened it and polished any of the smaller nicks and dents from the recent action it has seen. So it's basically better than new at the moment.
Yeah.
Polished, resharpened, retempered it. Yeah, it's ready to rock. And yeah, so basically you have now a hooded lantern that also has steel shutters on the sides that can close completely. So it's basically just this completely enclosed metal lantern with a handle at the top that is wrapped in leather. And you can open the shutters and open the hood, and so you can use it basically like a normal hooded lantern, but it's got the crazy blue elemental flame in it.
Who wants to hang on this one? Glaz, you wanna?
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. I want to be transfer. So I basically transfer the elemental flame out of the out of the sconce and into the hooded lantern. I assume that it's. I mean, does he need to do any preparations to make it so that it will, be
Not
held in there
without
like melting?
So you bring the torch sconce over, and I'm calling it a sconce. That's not right, but you guys know what I mean. You dump the torch over, and it pours as if this weren't flame, but some kind of molten lapis. Just runs out of the torch into the lantern and then reforms into that flame and burns up again inside there. You can kind of close it in, and it's all set.
Close it down. And is it well enough insulated that it's not like red hot on the outside, so I can put it in a pack without it singeing and scorching stuff?
It's going to get hot because it's a lantern, but the handle is wrapped specifically to insulate it. So you can carry it no problem, and even hang it from something no problem as well. So you could even put it on the end of like a pole. You could hang it on your pack. That might get a little uncomfortable. You could put it on like a pole or end of a staff, that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, he has his staff, so I mean, he could do that.
So you could have like a lantern pole. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would work as well.
Well, I kind of like that idea that he's got with his staff with the big crystal on the top. And actually, you know what? He might hang the carnelian off it too, so it sort of is he's sort of like collecting things on his staff. I kind of like that idea.
Nice. Cool. All right. So if you guys have the mask at this point, we'll be done. All she basically had to do was finish the fixtures and affix the teeth, which she could do with some resin, and so it's set. You've got your badass brand new dragon bear mask.
And he would look at everyone and he's like, "Look!"
That's fierce, darling. Very fierce.
So when he puts the mask on, and particularly when his hood is up, you can see that faint tracery of red glow in all of the recesses of the dragon face.
The dragon face.
That's really cool.
I think that should be Cloak's new pseudonym, his alter ego that he goes under. Dragon
He's the
face.
Dragon face.
Don't let me go, dragon face.
All right. And as we are coming up on 11 o'clock, I think that is where we will call it for this week. And we will pick up next week, heading into the cartways to the black market to track down the leader of the Black Shields.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Bam. One episode. All right, then. Yeah. Dragon Mask complete. Quest complete. Awesome. Well, my friends... I can take these off again. That's where we're going to end tonight's episode of the World Tree Burns. If you enjoyed the episode, let us know. Of course, if you're watching back on YouTube, you can drop us a comment as well. And be sure to check out Kobold Press, sponsoring tonight's show. Check out Midgard. It's so much fun to play. And if you want your own adventures in Zobek, definitely check out the Zobek Gazetteer. And koboldpress.com is a place to go for that. Next week, the whole cast and crew will be back with us. So I have Carrie back, and I'm sure we'll learn what shenanigans she's got up to. While she's been away. And, of course, we'll be back again tomorrow on Encounter Roleplay at the time of 1 p.m. Eastern for the finale of Doors to Darkness and then the finale of Warhammer Beneath Dark Bowels. As another reminder, as I'm saying, throughout the whole week, this is finale week on Encounter Roleplay, except for the World Tree Burns, which kind of joined in mid-season. So we're continuing on next week of that. But for the rest of the shows, it's finale week, and then we take a 2-week break. Come back on the 48-hour D&D stream and then start the new season. So yeah, that's the general news that I'm pushing this week. But let's go around the cast and crew. Did we enjoy ourselves? And of course, where can we find you guys online? Dan Dillon, fantastic job as always. How was that?
Thank you. Oh, it was great. I like changing pace a little bit. To get into some of the nuts and bolts of city life and figuring out, what are these crazy adventurers' kind of day-to-day routines? What are they doing when they're not risking their lives for fortune, glory, and stupidity? And so that was fun. We hit a couple of plot points that are cool. I was hoping that Kane would roll a little bit better on his investigation to figuring out what's going on with him, but he got some information. More yet to be had. Certainly, if you tell or team up with anyone else, it'll be much easier to discover. But no, I had a blast. I always have a blast running this game. I love these players. I love this setting. It's awesome. I'm Dan Dillon. You can find me at the Twitters, Dan_Dillon_1. I'm also on Facebook. I'm a moderator on the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Facebook page. It's the one with over 125,000 members. We love to talk D&D. There's a hell of a lot of us. We'd love to see you there.
Great stuff. Thanks so much, Dan. And Tool School, great episode tonight. How was that?
Oh, I always have a blast. Glassation is just so much fun to play with and play around with this sort of crazy trollkin, fun-loving, magic, innocent, whatever, all the things that Glass is. And thanks for letting me have a little bit of fun there at the end at the brothel of hanging out with and play, and finally finding someone who will play games with him, because no one ever takes him up on his offers to play games. So even though we had to pay someone, he had a great night, and it's great to see all the different plot stuff and all these things that I have read about and all of the Kobold Press Midgard books, and now to be living them and seeing them is a blast. So you can find me at Tall Squall all over the internet. Also, you can find me at Bird in the Storm Publishing, where we are putting out our first little module. We played it over last weekend on Friday and then again Saturday morning. And there's videos of that out and around that you will be linking to if people want to watch us play. We had great casts in both of them and had a whole lot of fun. And if you get in touch with me or send a DM to Bird in the Storm 1 at Bird in the Storm 1 on Twitter, until the end of the week, we will let you get a playtest copy so you can run it and see how you like it and give feedback to us on it. So thank you, everybody, for all your support on that. It's been great. And thanks for turning into World Tree Burns and Kobold Press, because their stuff rocks. I use it all the time.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Told School. And McLogan.
Hello, I'm McLogan. I played a gnome for 3 hours. I had a blast today. I like changing it up where, like, we didn't get any combat this whole time, but I like it because the role playing by everyone's really good. So and then having those interactions and that kind of stuff, and then just seeing just seeing how things are so different in like Zobek. I was literally looking at the Zobek map as we were talking to see where we were going. Nice. And like following along, so I was like, "Oh, we were in the Collegium, and we went all the way across town to get to the Gear District." So, and then like, and I don't know where the Silk Scarab is. I was trying to find it.
Sorry,
and then
the Silk Scabbard is not on the map. It's kind of where the lower, upper, and Cobalt ghettos kind of where they meet. It's right around that area.
Oh, by the Crown Square.
Yeah, and I'll throw out there that you can go to cobaltpress.midgardmap.com and you can see all this, friends and viewers and listeners. The Midgard map is there. Right now. It's interactable, it's online, and you can even zoom into the Zobek city map. On the
Zobek is in there now?
Yep, Zobek and Perbastet and another city are in there now. Yeah, it's
pretty sweet.
Amazing.
I was using that, so but yeah, I like how Cloak was able to and Glaz were able to kind of like figure out more of the magic side and figure out that, you know, what's going on with Cloak, and like and that was super awesome. And then Reardon getting his nice armor, and then Kane beating the shit out of everyone. So today's episode was fucking crazy and I loved it. But yeah, you guys can find me on my channel, mixer.com/storyquest. I do a show about once a week called Chosen. There's no show this week because I have a work thing tomorrow, so I'm not running the show. So yeah, that's me. Follow me at Twitter at McLoken. And Tall Squall, you should totally give me a playtest thing, because I would totally like to see that and see what you guys are doing.
Absolutely, I'll send it one to you immediately.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Josh.
I think my favorite part of the week was absolutely just beating the shit out of people in Honeypot. That was just amazing. Just not really what I was expecting, but it was a lot of fun. But I'm looking forward to so Kane has got to level 3 just in time to actually bounty hunt for somebody who is wanted in the city of Zobek, and Kane's subclass is
Zobeker Scout.
Yeah, Zobeker Scout. So it gives some really cool things that I'm really keen to sort of share with you guys and show you how they work. One of my favorite ones is essentially the ability to be able to go, yeah, I know a guy. Like, market awareness is basically just like, don't worry, I know a guy. Like, I'll hook you up. Yeah. So,
you can take your Ranger Primeval Awareness and use it to find city-related stuff.
Yeah, which is awesome. So being able to just, I know a guy, he'd do you a great deal. Don't even worry about it. So yeah, no, I'm super excited for that. But you can find me causing trouble on World Tree Burns, and online it's Encounter Josh, and that's me.
Fantastic. Well, my friends, that's where we're going to end tonight's episode. So myself, my plug for tonight is go and check out the Discord channel. If you're not in there yet, come along, chat to us so we can hang out, talk about World Tree Burns and all the other shows and role-playing games out there that we enjoy playing. There's over 1,000 folks in the Discord chatting about role-playing games. If you're keen to learn, or if you're eager to impart your knowledge upon other folks and help them learn the game, it's a great place to go and do so. You'll see me tomorrow for Doors to Darkness. I'm super nervous about the finale of that because it's the end of a 1.5-year campaign. And then Warhammer finales as well. And I'm super nervous about that because I'm going to die to my evil twin brother in a Star Wars fueled epic finale that I can't wait for. But my friends, it's been, God, so long since I started streaming this morning. I've forgotten what I'm doing with my life. So I'm going to go hang out with Sid for a bit, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, try not to roll too many nat ones because we want to be here laughing when you do. Good night, everyone. Bye.
Good night.
Hey, everybody.
Bye. Bye.